What up, everybody? Welcome to the Smoking Tire Podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by Off the Record. We love Off the Record because they do as they say. It's right there in the name. Get those points off your record. If you get a ticket, a moving violation of any kind, big or small, get Off the Record. Go to offtherecord.com/TST or download the Off the Record app and use code TSTPOD. Off the Record will then set you up with a qualified attorney in the jurisdiction where you got pulled over, and they'll help fight that ticket and get those points off your record. They have an unbelievable success rate. I use them. I've used them multiple times, and you guys email me all the time saying that you use them too with success. So go to offtherecord.com/TST or download the Off the Record app and use code TSTPOD. Get Off the Record. Don't plead guilty. That code is good for 10% off all legal services with Off the Record. And now, let's do a show. Today on the podcast, this one is recorded live for the first time ever at Westside Collector Car Storage South Bay. My old friend Larry Kosilla is in the building. We've got a studio audience, and we're talking about detailing, YouTube, BTS kind of stuff. We're talking about what kind of car, or more specifically, how much money you have to spend or should have to spend to get perfect paint quality. This and a whole lot more live in front of a studio audience at Westside Collector Car Storage. Larry Kosilla, founder of Ammo, YouTuber, detailer, and product creator, is on the Smoking Tire Podcast. And yeah.
It feels weird with nothing in front.
You look like a dog coming out of anesthesia.
Do you want to move this speaker and you can footrest it?
It feels weird with nothing in front. No, it's all right.
Well, you're just going to have to deal with it, buddy.
Suffer.
Well, hi everybody. Welcome to Westside Collector Car Storage. This is the first time that we've gotten to do this little live Smoking Tire Podcast, and it's extra funny because some of you might have no idea what that is because you're here to see this guy. One of my oldest friends, Larry Kosilla, has flown out from New York
this morning.
Landed at 8:53 this morning. And is flying back tomorrow morning because he doesn't know how travel works. Yeah. He's bad at it.
No.
Baseball. But his son won his baseball game, so he's a good dad.
Got to go back and watch baseball.
Unlike his dad. No.
Very true. And cut. All right, this is great.
He is swinging that pendulum the other way.
Thank you. Yes.
Real far.
Yes. Overcompensating much?
Yeah. I'm Matt. This is my place. And that's Zach. Zach is the other half of the Smoking Tire over there on the ones and the twos, but also the threes and the fours.
Very true.
And the reason we're doing this is because, for a long time, Larry has only sold these amazing ammo products on the internets, but he decided to let us sell them in person here, which is great. So for all of you locals, if you want to come buy them in person, you can come to our little store here or our other place in Playa Vista 7 days a week, and you can actually buy them in person. We have the full line.
Yeah, we opened up a new place in Australia, which is really cool. Hopefully you've seen some of the videos on that.
It's convenient. You should stop by.
Yeah, you should go to the Australia version.
The polishers go the other way.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Zach flew in under the radar with that one.
I like that one.
That was subtly
awesome.
That was good.
And so we wanted to open up a West Coast as well because a lot of people wanted to, come in person and grab products and then go home kind of thing. But shipping is a bit of a nightmare, as we all know. And so
apply the compound liberally on the West Coast.
Yes, exactly.
So, all of you folks were kind enough to come by and eat our tacos, and that's excellent. And you can pick up a bottle of stuff while you're here or a T-shirt. But I know that, this guy is pretty much my oldest friend.
Yeah, most people don't realize. How did you meet Matt? I'm like sixth grade?
Sixth or seventh grade.
You know how I first met him? He stabbed me in the eye with a pen.
I did.
No, pencil.
It was accidental.
He was waving his arms and doing
that's
this
just what I tell people.
Yes, exactly.
I was flailing with a pen in my hand.
Yeah.
And I can reenact it.
Yes, exactly.
It was,
go get a pen.
I caught a fish this big, and it was literally directly in his eye with a pen.
Yeah, that's true.
And I was like, I have the perfect thing to clean that. And he was like, we have something going.
Yes, exactly.
We also started our first business together. It was like a shitty little car wash.
It was.
It was really cold. You know, it's a fun job washing cars in New York in the winter.
Yes.
That job sucks.
It was tough.
That's a tough job, especially when you wear Birkenstocks every day, which is what I was doing at the time.
Yeah, back in the time. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I decided to leave and go make videos, and Larry kept going and became one of the best detailers in the world. And so that's good.
Yeah. And most people say, like, how did you get started in YouTube? And I said, believe it or not, it was Matt Farah.
I was like, you could probably make more money teaching people to detail on the internet.
I was like, listen, I think people want to watch and learn about detailing. And you know your exact words are?
Nobody wants to watch and learn about detailing.
No, you said, that's a horrible idea. That's a horrible idea. And I was like, oh, thank you for crushing my dreams. And you said, I'm going to introduce you to a guy named JF. And I told JF, and I was like, this is the idea. And he goes, Matt's right. That's a horrible idea. I was like, oh, all right, great.
We were both wrong. People did want to learn about detailing.
Yeah.
I think there was a guy in England.
Paul Dunn.
What?
Paul.
The guy who did, there was like the first detailing video I'd ever seen.
Yeah.
It was like the $10,000 Bugatti car wash or something. And that video had millions and millions of views. And I was like, oh, I was definitely wrong. People do want to watch this. And
It's a long time ago.
yeah, and then you started smoking us in YouTube views, which was very sad for me, to be honest. To be honest with you,
Turns out lots of people want to watch.
it turns out lots more people want to watch detailing than want to watch car reviews.
The difference is it's evergreen. I was talking to somebody about that a little while ago. It's evergreen, so it lasts forever. So if I wash, this Aston right here, and I use XYZ, technique on it, it's still going to be somewhat relevant for that car over there versus when you were doing a burnout or whatever, or drifting a Ferrari 355. Like no one's like Google searching that anymore. You know what I mean?
You're right.
Yeah, so that's...
No, I had thought about that when we first started doing videos. I focused on cars that existed before YouTube, because now if a new car comes out and they have a manufacturer sponsored launch or something, there's like 5 or 6 people making YouTube videos.
Right.
There's also going to be a bunch of people doing TikTok and whatever. But if you go out and find cars that existed before YouTube existed, you could possibly have literally the only video of that. And so we still do. If you look for on YouTube for a review of a 1998 Honda Accord, we possibly have the only video of that.
You got the corner locked on
We're
Honda Accord.
locked. And some of those videos have millions of views. You'll go back and you'll be like, when did this happen? Because it didn't happen, when I was still paying attention. But yeah. The evergreen nature of it is very, very important.
It is.
So here we are, and the business you're in is a business that I built because YouTube is a crumbling empire, unlike this building. I'm sure you guys are all happy to hear that, but it's definitely true.
Yeah, YouTube's tough.
It's not good.
No.
It's not good. But short form, who's excited? Nobody? No.
Yeah.
That fake clap is basically how I feel about it too, right?
It's different now. Much different.
It's all short form or super long form. What we're doing right now. This is the super long form.
Are we actually podcasting right now? Is it live? Or
Yes.
No, what do you think we're doing
I
here?
thought we were warming up or something.
You don't give away what you can sell.
Oh, all right.
We learned that in The Great White Hype.
Okay.
Who's seen that movie?
Educational film.
Ace film. If you haven't, go home tonight and watch The Great White Hype with Samuel L. Jackson. It's amazing. It ages. It's evergreen.
There you go.
One might say it is evergreen. So we have what we call the party mic, which is the microphone on the stand right in the middle there. And I know that a lot of you folks had questions for Larry about things. So keep them here, swirl them, and in a few minutes we'll call people up to the party mic if they have specific questions about stuff. So since we last talked, I mean not 10 minutes ago, but since we last did this, Larry has. I mean, I don't know if it comes out in the videos, but Larry's the most indecisive person you'll ever meet in your life. He's insane. in a good way. He's a perfect person to be a professional detailer because he's like obsessive and crazy, but he can also never figure out what to do. And whether that's business or cars or whatever. And so he came in here today and beelined it for that Aston Martin Rapide in the corner. He goes, I'm really thinking about getting one of these.
Is that the coolest for a dad car? I got thumbs up. Dad cars.
You
Yes.
got two nods out of 50 people. Let's just talk percentage.
There was two. There's another 51. I got 3.
And a lot of people our age are dads now of young kids. I'm not. We have cats, and that's correct. Just in case you're wondering. but and that's why I have 8 cars, and Larry can only have 3. But they all want cars with back seats, right? They all want. And so the Aston Rapide over here. Is anyone ever driven one of those besides me? Have you driven one, right? Drives like an Aston, right? And what's great about that car is it's a 4-door car that you can't fit any humans in the back seat. It's a hilarious car.
I sat behind you in a video,
Yeah.
and I had to do the man spread the whole time because the back of your chair almost touched the front of my chair.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a door for backpacks.
And so Larry goes, I don't care because I have.
It's a back door for backpacks. It is. That's what it's for.
It is. It's better. It's so you don't have to do that big reach where you pull out your elbow and your shoulder getting the backpack out. But who thinks that Larry should spend $50,000 to $60,000 on a 10-year-old Aston Martin sedan?
2015 or higher.
Excuse me, 9-year-old. 9-year-old. Sorry.
Yes.
So I think that's about 25% is a yes. Voting for you to get this car with someone else's money.
Yes.
That's not good.
Well, there's a lot of non-votes in here as well.
Abstain. Yeah, listen, if people aren't raising their hands for you to spend your money on a stupid car, that's not a promising sign.
I told you it was a bad idea this morning, but I still support you buying it because I want to know what it's like to own one.
I love the Taycan. I thought the Taycan was the best, family car, sporty, it looked good, whatever. But it got like 280 miles to the tank, to the charge.
And that's not enough.
It's not enough. When I go out to Long Island, we've done this podcast 1,000 times. When I go out to Long Island, it's 350, and so I got to stop halfway out and charge for an hour and a half.
But can we talk about, I was a little confused by your definition this morning. So Larry was like, I was like, why don't you get a Panamera? Basically the same seating position. We can get a gas car. We got a thumbs up in the back. And Larry's like, that's too much of a dad car. And you said, when you pull up in a Taycan, people like,
that's
they
a cool
know
car.
Like, you know what's up.
Yeah, it's a Taycan.
It's the same thing. They're very similar.
I don't know. So the argument is whether that's the same or not?
I think the difference between them is minimal. And I'm just wondering why you think one is awesome and one is for old people.
0 to 60 times.
That is not a measurement of youth. Otherwise, the Cybertruck would be an indicator of 20-year-olds.
Yeah, no.
And BRZs would then be for old people.
I think it's because it's just size. One is big and one is medium.
Yeah, but the front end on a Taycan looks 1,000 times better than a Panamera.
It does look better.
Everybody would agree with that, right?
It's
It's sleeker, it's sexier, it looks more modern.
Well, did you know there's no engine there? That's why they can do that. Science, people. All right. Faceplant, next.
Well, it's a basket for catching pedestrians when you hit them. That's what the frunk is.
That's true.
So you can have a lower hood.
All right, so I vote Larry's money does get an Aston Martin just so I can laugh when it breaks.
That's great.
And I say this as an Aston Martin owner.
And a Bentley owner.
That Bentley is fucking sick, and you know it.
It is nice. It is nice.
He's talking
I've got
shit.
dibs on buying
He
it.
talks shit now. I picked him up from the airport this morning. He's looking around and going, "You thinking of selling this?" Because I got dibs, and baby, we have to sell the Bentley to Larry when we're done with it. The Bentley project is a 1-year project, right? We have a Turbo R, which is a 33-year-old Bentley. And the idea is we at least a Ford Mach-E for 3 years, which is a lovely car. The idea is, can we drive this Bentley for a year for less money than we spent leasing a brand new EV? And although let's just say there's an initial investment that needs to be recouped. We've been driving it for 9 months, and it has been 100% bulletproof reliable.
What?
Which most people, nothing broke. Since the original round of fixing things, nothing broke.
And then the second round where it went to get the window regulators.
It's like that game where you're like starting now. It didn't do anything. Starting now. It didn't.
No.
Break.
The engine has always worked.
We had to replace the window regulators. The window regulators are very poorly designed in that car. In search of smoothness, it's like a differential gear, but it's made of literal rubber. So it's a gear that's rubber on rubber. So that's stupid. And it apparently makes them smooth, but they also dry rot and fall apart.
Okay.
I would contend that is not a part of reliability. We drove the car to the shop.
I think it's great. It's comfortable.
You are listening to the beginning of the sentence. We've all said it or read it on Craigslist. Never left me stranded.
Yeah.
That's what this, because I could say this about my BMW, and we know it's been in the shop 2-3 times a year, likes to go in to have a little spot treatment.
Do you see the irony that's taking place right now? I'm talking about a Rapide that's a century newer than this, and he's trying to justify an old Bentley.
That
but that's
you want
okay.
to buy off me.
But
I'm not questioning that. I'm in for it, but you're giving me crap for that. And listen, the Bentley with the windows and the whole
Bentley
thing.
fits people in the back seat.
because you have a kid, and we talk about this, but if your kid
he's
grows
little.
2
He's
inches,
little.
they don't stay little. That's the problem. That's
Well,
one of the problems.
I'm not going to feed him anymore after that.
That's a good plan. That's a good plan.
It's a good plan.
Guys, we got to take one quick break from the show because today we're supported by GetMaineLobster.com. Imagine you're enjoying premium lobster tails perfectly cooked in your kitchen, bringing the essence of the ocean right to your table without the hassle of having to go to the grocery store. Now that you've pictured it, grab your laptop and check out some GetMaineLobster.com. Get Maine Lobster delivers the freshest lobster tails to your front door, wild caught off the coast of Maine and flash frozen at peak freshness to lock in breathtaking flavor. With over 16,000 5-star ratings, Get Maine Lobster is the #1 lobster delivery company in the USA, according to Good Housekeeping. So whether you're planning a special date night, hosting a celebration, or simply craving a taste of Maine at home, Get Maine Lobster is the easiest and most affordable way for you to enjoy fresh lobster. So right now, when you go to GetMaineLobster.com, you can get 15% off all orders store-wide. Just use code TIRE at checkout, TIRE. Elevate your next meal with Get Maine Lobster and experience the taste that's trusted by thousands of seafood lovers across the country. Seriously, this is some of the best lobster you will ever taste. Head over to GetMaineLobster.com. That's GetMaineLobster.com. And use the code TIRE to get 15% off all orders store-wide. Don't miss out on the top-tier deals and fish at GetMaineLobster.com. Promo code TIRE, 15% off all orders store-wide. And now, back to the show.
He's not
Imagine a 4-door car that doesn't fit people in the back. Imagine how dumb that is.
Yeah, wow.
That's a dumb thing.
But it's an Aston.
Good point.
It's like a Ferrari FF.
0.4.
Yeah.
0.4. Huh? Or a Giulia? Giulia's fit.
Way
Julia's
better
back seat
than
is
that.
better than that.
You should open that door. I mean, there's literally that much
It's
space.
hilariously
Yeah.
So
stupid.
bad, yeah.
There's a reason they sold like 7 of those, and it's not because it's a bad car. It's because it's like people are like, well, I'll just get it. If I want an Aston that doesn't fit things in the back, they make that already. It's called a DB9. And it's better looking, and I could just get that.
What do you
it's
think
nice
they
that
sold
we have
more
one
of?
for comparison.
You think they sold more Signets or Rapides?
Oh, Rapides. They sold like 100 Signets. Those are, you guys know what a Signet is? It was a Scion IQ with an Aston interior and grille. It's a very, very rare car.
It is the community service of automobiles. They're like,
Yeah.
you have to do this to offset your carbon. And they're like, fine.
Yeah.
We'll make a Scion and put an Aston badge on
It's
it.
what happens when they had to do carbon offsets. Yeah, cafe. It's a cafe special. Man, hey Phil, would you bring me a water, please? Thank you. Phil is our location manager and also a waiter today. And I'm sorry for that, Phil. You're better than that, but you're the
I'm
one in my
thirsty.
line of sight right now, and that's what I need. So you're out here on the West Coast today.
Yes, I am.
And do you like West Coast car culture?
I mean, I don't not like it. There he is.
I don't. Thanks, buddy.
I don't
not like
You
it.
like that?
Yeah, I don't.
That's vague.
The non-denial.
The non,
Yeah.
yes.
I have a concept of a plan.
Yeah, yeah. Timely. Let's avoid that debacle there. But no, of course I love a car culture here. I mean, anytime you can drive a car and enjoy it, et cetera, it's great.
Year round.
That's where it's just what you're seeing right now is just jealousy.
Yeah.
Because we get 6 months a year and the rest of it's absolutely horrific where I'm from. So New York is pretty, I mean,
Yeah.
it's terrible.
Sucks. Yeah, it sucks.
So
great
that's all
roads.
jealousy.
I was just in the Catskills. The Catskills. You know, ever been to the Catskills? Show of hands? That's a lovely place to drive a sports car.
Really?
Great roads, very beautiful. Good
near
restaurant.
Poconos or no?
Yeah, the Poconos, it's more north.
Got it.
The Catskills are more north, like towards Albany.
Got it.
Up there. Great roads up there. That's where you, like by Hunter Mountain.
Okay.
You know? You ever ski Hunter Mountain? It's not good. I don't recommend it, but.
That's the East Coast, pretty much.
Yeah. That's that's where we grew up skiing that mountain.
Yeah, it's ice rinks on a slope.
Yeah,
That's correct.
yeah.
That's
if they put a hockey rink on a tilt table, that's pretty much what you get there.
Hunter would look like, yeah.
We're very spoiled out here. But you drive your cars through the winter though.
I drive my cars through the winter, but I go to and from daddy stuff and back and forth to work. So like driving the 964 or the R8 or whatever, I drive 3 or 4 miles now. It's amazing the change once you have a kid. Now I'm looking at Rapides and making horrible decisions versus like GT3s or something that would be exciting.
Yeah.
But I spend 99% of the time hauling to and from kid-related things. So.
And now you have a Model T.
Oh, I have a Model T. You see the only excitement I got in the room right now? The Model T is the greatest car I've ever owned, ever. And I say that with no reservation whatsoever.
Why?
Because one, my wife loves it. Because
that's very important.
Well, I said, what car is the most exciting? She's like, the Model T is the one that I can stomach the most. I'm like, oh, okay, well, thank you. But we can take the whole family in there. And you go 30 miles an hour, so it's not like you're speeding. You go to every event, the people are freaking out, smiling, and the fact that this car is an original 1923, and the guy was literally going to throw it away. They were giving it to, so I guess you were...
Cars for kids?
No.
If you give a Model T to... That's a boss move. You give a Model T to take this motherfucker. See what you do with this. KARS. No.
Yeah, that is the worst scam ever. But
it is a scam. Don't do that, by the way.
Yeah, that's a terrible scam.
Yeah.
No, they were going to make it so that I guess they burn it or they melt it down for metal or something.
Really?
Yeah. They were like, oh, because the guy passed away and the family wanted nothing to do with it. And they said, take it. And so I made like a donation to the family or whatever. They were literally throwing it away. And then I think I spent maybe $800 doing like an oil change and all these other things to it. And some of the parts were $7. One part was $7.23 you get from an actual magazine.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the mechanic, I have it all on film.
There's a lot of cars with parts that are $7, but like Larry's been driving Porsches for so long. He's like, it was only $7.
Yeah, exactly. I get very excited. But when he changed the oil, I remember he had this meat hook of a hand. This older, like real tough guy has been, working on these older cars forever. Stuck his finger.
Just one big finger.
One big finger. And he stuck it in this random, and as soon as he pulled it out, a blop came out and a bunch of oil came out. He put the plug back in. He goes, go ahead and start it. And after 40 years, we drove down the road. I mean, a mile or two, and he's like, we should change all the fluids, but it's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Just showing, like, since 1923, now, mind you, it probably ran 5-10 years ago. It wasn't 40 years ago, and the car ran. So to me, every time I start that car, it starts right up. There's no problem. There's 3 things as the engine, part of like a little, I don't know if you call it transmission. I don't know what you would call it back there.
It is a transmission.
Transmission, like the yoke in the back or whatever. You put some fuel in it and you're good.
Every Honda owner in here is like, yeah, that's what cars do. You own like 3 Porsches and you're like, it's crazy, man. This thing, you just put gas in it, turn it on.
This is amazing.
Parts aren't expensive.
How long did it take you to learn how to drive it?
It took me a little bit of time. What most people don't realize is there's no gas pedal. So there is a brake on the right. There's a reverse in the middle, which is incredibly close. So if you put your foot on the reverse, you're also hitting the other pedals. And then on the left is a clutch. Now, traditionally with a clutch, you push in the clutch, you put it in gear, and as you release the clutch, everybody knows what I'm talking about, it engages the gear. This is the opposite. So when you push down, so once I have it in gear, and the gear is here, and it's right next to your leg. So all the way back is brake, first is up a little bit, and second is up further. And there's no like gated shifter. It's like you kind of have to guess. And so once you put it in first, you have to push the clutch down for it to engage. But once you go to second, you take your foot off the clutch, put it in second, and you leave your foot off of it, and the car will just run at 37 miles an hour, and you control the gas on the right hand.
Yeah, it's got like a cruise control.
Right. No, it'll just go.
Yeah.
And so for me to take it off, I have to put my foot on the clutch and then pull it out of second and put it into first. It's very complicated, and you can change the way the spark based on the speed. This is even complicated saying. Based on the speed, you have to change the amount of spark that it has based on the speed and the power that you're trying to develop. It's crazy. It's very complicated. It makes sense
if you're the only car for 100 miles in any direction. If you're driving out, outside of Dodge City in 1920 on a dirt road with nothing else around, you can go really far without having to touch anything.
That's true.
You just set stuff and then you just steer.
But it has leaf springs in it. Yeah. I mean, it's incredibly smooth.
Did you add brakes?
Well, you should actually look at my text. There's brakes ish.
Because it has a.
Why was that answer so long?
The stock brakes on a Model T, it has a band, that clamps the transmission.
I'm trying to get tighter bands.
It is worthless.
Yeah. So basically, when you hit the brakes, what you do is you hit the brakes and then you lightly tap reverse at the same time, and it'll slow you down like this, just fast enough. So it's a little sketch.
Yeah. So what a lot of people do is there was a company called like Rocky Mountain something or other in the 20s, and they had a big catalog for Model Ts, and you can get drum brakes for the rear. Really? The Rocky Mountain drum brakes, yeah.
That's what I just texted my guy. Like, we're doing more parades, and you know he's of the age
brakes
now.
Brakes are good. Yeah. Zach and I did this drive in Newport in a 1902 Yale, which would have had no brakes, but the owner put Willwood disc brakes on it, and it literally saved our lives multiple times.
Yeah.
Because now we're driving with other cars with stoplights and stop signs.
Yeah,
whereas when your car was invented, it was like 3 horses and then nothing for 100 miles.
True.
You couldn't really run.
But I'm driving this on the road. I drive it.
I know you are.
I drive it 30 miles from one place to the other, and I go on the highway with it.
If you had to panic stop, could you?
No. I could panic.
No. You'd panic.
I could panic.
And you'd stop when you hit the other car or
no,
the
for
tree.
real. To stop it fast, I'd have to hit the brake. I'd have to hit reverse at the same time, and then pull the e-brake, and it'll slow down quickly.
Are there any anchors around you could buy?
No, you would just jump out.
Have you practiced the jump out?
I haven't practiced the jump out, but I've practiced the freak. I've gone through 2 stop signs right now.
Fuck! You've practiced the explanation to the cop why you ran this stop sign.
I've gone through 2 stop signs and freaked out because I can't remember. Sometimes you forget. Like when you want to slow down, you have to do this. Like as if you took your foot off the gas. This is taking your foot off the gas. And if you think you want to put your foot and remove, push the clutch to slow down, you're actually engaging it.
Yeah.
So it's completely opposite.
Right, it's not muscle memory yet.
No, there's no muscle memory. So you got to go slow and all that kind of stuff. But anyways, the point of the story is it's the greatest car ever, short of dying.
And you can actually break many, many laws in a car like that, and nobody seems to care.
We're filming here, but yeah, there's. I forgot to go to the DMV and all that stuff. That car just
does not matter.
What are you gonna pull me over in town and be like? Yeah. And I have a horn, and it goes, oh, yeah. Everybody, I'm doing this half the time while I'm driving.
The best.
The whole time I'm just waving.
Does it look like a flugel horn on the? Oh, it's the best.
And to engage it, it's on the steering column. It's just one little button. But
it's electric?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was a.
You have an electric horn, but you don't have brakes. What are you doing?
Yeah. Priorities.
And I put an electric starter in there, so I don't have to. I have the thing on the front, but if you do that wrong, you break your arm.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, let's.
Is it the foot pedal?
Yeah, it's like the high brake, high beams on the old cars.
Yeah,
it's just like that with your foot.
Yeah.
It's cool. It's the greatest thing ever,
Well,
and it still has the original sticker on it. They used to ration gas, obviously, in the 20s and 30s for the war and all that. It still has the original. Like A, B, C, and D days. Like you're on the A day, you could go get gas or whatever. This one still has the A sticker on it, which is pretty cool. From 1923.
Nice.
Yeah. Anyways, I'm nerding out about this stuff. It's the greatest. It's all original. It's amazing.
When the world comes to an end, it'll just be that car and that people talk about. It makes me really laugh. I'm gonna shit on the Cybertruck for a minute. People when they talk about this as being some type of apocalypse vehicle, not understanding what could potentially happen to our electrical grid during the apocalypse. Yeah. If there is an apocalypse, you don't want an electric car. You want either, if you see my wife's diesel van outside,
diesel for the win.
You want that or a car from the 20s that you could fix it with 8 tools and
run it on anything.
I saw my first Cybertruck in person. Like I've seen 1,000 of them. You guys see them all over the place here. We don't have that many in New York. I mean, there's a couple on the highway.
It's a more intelligent buying public in New York. They know better.
But I saw it up close for the first time.
Well, rust happens really quickly out there too.
And it really is. The panel gaps between all of the aluminum, the metal,
it's stainless
steel,
yeah.
whatever. I mean, they're massive gaps, and they're all different.
There's storage areas,
blade on that thing?
not gaps.
Yeah. That's the biggest wiper blade I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, our friend, the one we drove for a video, our friend was driving it back to Colorado, and the wiper blade snapped off in a rainstorm. So listen, it's a very, very well-designed product. It's thoughtfully engineered, designed, and assembled for the most discerning and intelligent customers only.
Look, they had a recall on the wiper blades, but
They did.
Did
Yes.
they really actually have a
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
They weren't working.
Listen, apparently wiper blades were not a settled science and needed to be started over.
Got
So,
it.
so anyway, Model T.
Folks, we got to take one quick break for MyBookie, America's favorite sports betting service. They're celebrating their 10-year anniversary by not only supporting this show, but offering special deals for you guys, such as risk-free Thursdays. Normally, if you bet on something and you lose, you don't get anything. But with MyBookie's risk-free Thursdays, when you bet, if you lose, they wipe it, meaning you can only win. You can't lose. Huh? What? For those of you who've been playing with MyBookie, this is how it works. You got brand new loyalty rewards program with MyBookie Plus. It's simple. The more you play, the more you earn. And as you progress through the tiers, unlock exclusive promotions, epic giveaways, and cash back in your account. Plus, there's that bet big on risk-free Thursdays. And if your boosted bet doesn't hit, you get your money back. Weekly, no sweat, win-win bets all season long. So whether it's an underdog upset, backdoor cover, or a shootout between two Lombardi contenders, MyBookie is here to help you cash in on every single moment. Right? Right. You know, if you got some downtime, you can do what I do in my downtime. Pull up MyBookie and get in on the action of that day's games. Fall is here. That means football, basketball is coming in. It's going to be a big one, folks. Sign up at MyBookie and use promo code TIRE to get a double deposit bonus. You can literally double the cash in your account before you place your first bet. But don't wait on it. It's only available for a limited time. Turn that football knowledge into big-time payouts at MyBookie. And don't forget that double deposit bonus with code TIRE. At MyBookie, you can turn this season into a winning season.
Model
Much
T
better.
for the win.
Still running, 100 years.
100 years. Got the
Is
diesel.
it 23? So it's literally 100
Literally
years.
in 1923, it's 101.
101.
Yeah.
I love shit like that.
And
great.
they only updated they did a roller paint job, like literally rolled the paint on
That's
that.
awesome.
Yeah, it's really meaningful. It has wood wheels.
I mean, that's sketchy.
Well, I don't know about that, but
Yes. I don't know about that. Yes.
Nah, it's
Wood
perfectly
wheels?
fine. Perfectly
Can
fine.
we not agree that wood wheels are shady?
No.
This isn't like, I'm not like making some crazy
No.
statement. Wood wheels.
It's a beautiful
shitty.
car.
It
Listen,
worked
man.
for boats. It's fine for wheels.
They had they had to upgrade. You could do the Model A wheels, which are metal.
Really.
Yeah. Then you might not die.
I'm sticking with my wood, all right?
Just saying.
Are the wooden wheels lighter? That's rotating mass.
Hey,
Probably.
Right?
Yeah. Probably.
Cornering
actually.
speeds up, braking distance
Yeah.
down? Probably not.
top speed 38 miles an hour.
Too fast. Get brakes.
I think.
And the wheel-
I'll
the
sell
steering wheel
you
shakes
the
at
Bentley
38.
when we're done with it, but I'll buy the Model T when you're done with it.
Fair enough.
It's a 4-seater.
That's 4-seater.
They're not all.
This one's a 4-seater.
Okay, they're not all 4-seaters.
Stop it.
What?
I thought you saw my car.
I saw it for like 8 seconds and did not
It's a
pay
4-seater.
attention.
It's great.
I saw it before you bought it. You're like, this guy dropped this thing off at my shop. What do I do with it? I was like, I don't know. Keep it.
It's the best car ever.
You brought us some. Where'd they go? You brought us new products. You said you
I
have new
did.
products.
Yes.
This was like a whole exclusive thing. You were like, I got all this stuff to
Yes,
share.
I put them over there, so I can't reach
Should
them
I go
now.
get them?
Nah, it's a leather. It's called silk leather balm. So basically, when you have really, really old leather that's way too parched, dry, brittle, we develop a new product that's more of a balm. It's kind of like
Looks like chapstick.
chapstick. It looks like chapstick, so it's thicker. It's got a higher concentration of like moisture in there that stays in there. and you leave it there for a longer period of time, and then you wipe it off.
Keeps your leather moist. It does.
Yes, it
Keeps
does.
your leather moist.
Keeps your leather, yeah.
Can I tell you about a guy? I'm not going to use his name because he's still a customer of ours. He, and for those listening to audio later, air quote, read on the forums. This anytime someone comes to you and says, I read on the forums, he had a new car. It was a brand new car, and he wanted to keep his leather moist. He was worried about it drying out. Okay. I said, well, what we'll want to do is we'll want to, twice a year, we'll do the ammo, the conditioning, so it's nice. He goes, no, I don't want to do that. I read on the forums that what you should do is put a bowl of water on the passenger floor and keep a bowl of water in there at all times. I go, I don't think that's going to work, man.
It's called the rainforest move. You don't want to create an ecological environment there.
What do you think would
Hang some
happen
ferns.
if in
Just a wee bit of mold going on in there?
To moisturize your leather, if you were to put a bowl of water on the floor?
It would be mold very quickly.
Are you saying the forums were not accurate in this case?
I can't believe I'm saying this, but yes. Wow.
It's unbelievable, really. There's so much knowledge in the forums. Usable knowledge, practical knowledge, safe knowledge.
Rainforest.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, it's
That's
great.
crazy. Yeah. So use your stuff instead is what you're saying?
Well, I mean, if it's super old and really dried out, yeah, this is very concentrated stuff. So it's a little bit longer to put on because you're really putting on like a paste, a balm, and you let it sit there 30 minutes, an hour, and it's really penetrating. Then you can go in and remove it.
If it's like visibly cracking, can it kind of fix it? Or?
Well, it's going to slow the rate of degrading UV protection. It's kind of like putting suntan lotion on, for the lack of a better word. It's not suntan lotion in that situation, but if it's already cracked, it's cracked. If it's dead, it's dead. But it'll slow that rate from further cracking.
If it's already cracked, bowl of water, baby.
Yeah.
That'll bring it right back.
Giving me an idea for a new product.
You can pet rocket, like
Exactly.
ammo
Pet rocket.
Ammo H2O.
Yeah, exactly. I like
Hey,
that.
if 50 Cent can do it, so can Larry. Yeah. No, but you had another major announcement about.
Yes, we can make an announcement. So after quite some time working on a couple of different ideas and plans and certainly videos, we're really happy to announce that we have some exciting news with a television show on the Discovery Channel, which is really cool. It's about as much of the details as I can give in terms of the name and what we're doing, but we're super stoked. We've been working with a lot of great people that helped this idea, which is basically the YouTube channel, come to life in a different form, certainly on television. So we're really pumped. And there's some folks here in the back there, right there, waving their hands that were the director and the guys that are shooting the videos and the film and editing and all that stuff. So, and then this gorgeous guy right there, that's the agent that made all the magic happen right there. So, we're super stoked. It's going to be great, but we can only say so much details, which is interesting, but soon enough. Go ahead. I know you're going to say something. Go ahead.
Yeah. I want you to tell me something about it, other than that it exists.
It exists. I can see him burning a hole in my eyes right
Hollywood,
here.
what can he say about it? Anything? More than that?
I said it all.
Boy, he said it all.
It's exciting. It's going to be coming out soon, but there are restrictions and non-disclosures.
It's hazmats. It's you doing many hazmats.
Yeah, that on steroids.
What's the worst hazmat you've seen in the last 12 months?
Legitimately. So the big issue was before I wanted to make sure that this was done truthfully, which doesn't sound like, well, like you're like, yeah, but some other options that I had in other channels and other things were a lot more fabricated. So I would say the last 12 months we found a Mercedes that was up in the woods, and there was this much urine basically in the back of this car. And so we found all these mice and rodents and whatever, and it was, just puddles of urine. And so when we pulled it out, we basically had to rip out the entire interior. And the guy, because it was an actual customer, came in. I was like, listen.
He was like, you find my piss?
No.
Yeah. Hey, that's mine.
Yeah, exactly.
Save that.
No.
That's good piss.
So we cleaned this thing, and it's still, okay. But, this car's been sitting in the woods forever. The guy gets in the car. We have, as part of the show, we have, a mechanic that helped us get this thing running again. So we got it running. And then shortly thereafter, the guy shows up, like a real job, paid the whole thing. It just happened to be filming for TV, blah, blah, blah. Gets in the car, and I'm like, dude, you should probably, we got to remove the whole dashboard. We didn't do that. We got to, run some stuff. He's like, I'm cool. Gets in, we're filming it, gets in, leaves, and drives all the way to Manhattan in it. Didn't change the brakes, didn't change the oil, none of that stuff. Drove it all the way into the city. Probably a week ago he drove back. I mean, he got the oil changed or whatever.
Runs on my piss too, as it turns out.
Yeah.
Didn't even have to add
But
gas.
the thing, it was a convertible, so the only way he can drive it is with the top down.
Oh yeah.
Because I'm like, you gotta disassemble all the parts inside the, when you turns the blower fan on, I'm sure it's gonna come all out. But yeah, that was probably the worst one I've done in a while. And then I don't know if you guys saw that episode with the airplane episode. Anybody see that one? That was a huge one. And so usually I wear, charcoal filters and masks and wear the bunny suit and all that. And I'm really careful about not getting sick. But what I didn't realize is when you're in an airplane, it's designed to obviously keep air in, air out, whatever. So it's not like an open convertible. So I got tremendously ill, and I went to the hospital. And I remember sitting with the doctor, and it was bad. And so the guy, we ran all these tests.
What did you get sick with?
Well, that's the story. So
Sorry.
The guy is basically, could you just wait a second, for crying out loud? So the doctor goes to me, and I'm like coughing and all, just everything.
He got herpes, guys. It was herpes.
Yeah.
He's burying the lead, but
So
it was sealed
normally
in
when
there
he has
really
sex
good,
yeah.
but,
I'm telling you, there was a lot going on there.
Normally, I don't get sick when I have sex on airplanes.
No,
but
this time got me. So anyways, the guy goes to me, and then I can tell that he couldn't get out what he wanted to get out to me and express to me. And then he kept saying, hey, did you do any renovation on your house? And I was like, meanwhile, I'm like coughing and throwing up and the whole thing. And I'm like, no. Have you been in an attic lately and redid your attic? And I'm like, wait, no.
But when you go to the hospital, you don't say, this is my job, this is what I was doing recently?
Listen, I could barely walk in there. I didn't know what was going on. So I'm sitting on the table.
You were smart.
Well, listen, I'm
So
delirious at this point. You'll understand why. And so he keeps going through this whole thing. And then he finally goes, I don't know how to explain this to you, but you ingested mouse feces in your lung. And I'm like, oh yeah. And he's like, that's normal for you? And I was like, well, okay, so here's what I do. Like, I don't announce, like, hey, I'm a YouTuber that cleans. I didn't even process. I was out of my mind. I was completely really sick. And the guy's like, oh, okay, because I didn't know how to tell you.
I don't know how I got all these burns, doctor. What do you do for a living? I clean volcanoes, but that can't be related.
Exactly.
What are you doing?
Yeah. So, anyways, he told me that. I explained the situation, and he gave me this.
You've inhaled more urine than any human.
The name of it was like streptococcal,
Bronchitis.
blah, 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 like some super crazy long name that it got somehow in my lungs, and it like destroyed me for months on end. And they gave me crazy, whatever it's called, antibiotics.
I thought you were going to say asbestos. For a solid minute, I thought you were going to say you had mesothelioma.
No. It was the longest name ever with lots of vowels in it.
Pneumono ultra microscopic silicovolcaniconiosis?
It was the other one. What was the other one?
Anti-disestablishmentarianism?
That one. Yeah. So,
The
anyways,
longest
that was
words I
probably
know.
the sickest one I've ever gotten. That was
Yikes.
exciting. And ironically, in that plane, I shouldn't even talk about that. That plane, that's the plane that I took down there, the one that we talked about earlier.
Wait, you then flew in that plane?
No. The plane that I went down there in the episode.
Oh.
Yeah, that was the one.
You can tell that.
Yeah, that guy, unfortunately.
He ain't going to argue?
Yeah, that's true. The guy that used to fly, you see a couple episodes where I take that little plane. Unfortunately, that plane crashed. So, yeah, that was like right after I finished that one. So that was...
Yeah. And the guy died in it.
Yeah, the guy died
that's
in it.
the story.
Yeah,
you didn't tell that part. That's crazy.
Yeah. So it's it was that whole. If I could erase that whole thing, it was a tough.
What kind of plane were you cleaning?
So
like a crashed in the jungle plane?
No. It was probably like a 12 or 14 person plane. It was a big one. I don't even know what it was called.
50 goes Western Airlines.
And why were you cleaning it?
Because the guy that I was flying down, him and his buddy own these other planes, blah blah blah, and he's another YouTuber.
Oh,
and he wanted to get like press or whatever. So he's like, hey, would you clean this? I don't clean things. I find planes and restore them and get them up in the air, but I don't clean them. So I was like, I'll clean it for you.
That is a terrible business, restoring airplanes and getting them.
Well,
there's a guy named Cletus McFarland. You ever heard of this guy? Anyone's ever seen this videos? This guy down in Florida. He's a lunatic. He's great, but he's a lunatic, and he bought like the cheapest private jet for sale. It was like $15,000.
Yeah.
He had it gone through, and it was going to need $3 million to get airworthy.
That's what this guy was trying to do. That kind of thing.
Seems like a bad business.
It's tough business. Then he started going into boats or whatever. Nice guy, but
oh boy, from one terrible business to another. Jesus.
Yeah. So
well, you're hanging out with this guy?
No, I know.
Mr. I'm obsessed with being a good entrepreneur. Is like, yeah, my best friend is flipping jets.
I've just cleaned his car.
Get out of here.
I cleaned his plane or whatever it was. So
That's
I don't see that guy anymore. But
yeah,
fun stuff.
So even with a respirator and all that stuff.
Yeah, I got totally really.
That's crazy.
Like not funny ill. Yeah. So
happens.
It happens.
That's terrible.
Yeah, but you gotta wear a mask. So now I learned.
Well, it didn't help you, did it?
Well, it's because I used the steam machine. That's what we found out. I used the steam machine inside the cockpit of the. What happened was both windows were open, so birds came in, and then birds literally pooped over everything, right? And then the mice came in, I guess, to eat the poop, whatever they were doing in there. So there was
you made
mice
it toxic essential oils. Like this is
basically,
the Glade
I'm
plug-in.
steaming it, and then the steam can't go out. So I basically hotboxed myself with mouse poo. So
dude.
yeah, I'm not kidding. It was bad. It was not good at all.
Remember when I force hotboxed you in high school?
I vaguely remember that. Yes.
You didn't get sick, but you got laid.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Yes.
So if this is the point where I will say, if anyone has things that they want to hear from Larry, I would say step up to the party
Step up to the
microphone.
mic. And we also
Someone's
did a
gotta go
Koenigsegg.
first, huh?
I forgot about the Koenigsegg. Last week we did Koenigsegg.
about
That
it?
video aired today.
Oh,
We did
Koenigsegg?
3 world record Koenigsegg's. Unbelievable. It was the fastest I've ever gone from 0. We only did 172 because we didn't have the space for it. 0 to 172, back down to 0. Absolutely phenomenal.
Did you do it in Sweden?
No. I did it here, but the record's 250 or whatever it is. We didn't have the space to do it.
They did that in Nevada.
We did this undisclosed place.
In Mexico.
We did it in Mexico. And it was, I've never done that before in my life. To have
the brakes. It's the brakes.
It's the brakes. Really, and my glasses came off. I mean, it was intense. So those cars are incredible. And the paint is spectacular on those. Koenigsegg's, in my opinion, short of Bugatti maybe, Koenigsegg have the best paint. They have 25 layers of paint.
Really?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
25 layers. But not, with space in between it. Like not space, time in between to let it cure and then do it again.
Really?
That's
Well, it takes like a year to build one of those things.
Yeah. So I think every part has enough time to be able to.
The craziest thing about Koenigsegg is when you start taking, either looking inside them when stuff's open or taking things apart, is it the stuff that you're not really supposed to see is still extraordinarily
and there's a logo on everything.
Yeah.
There's even the blinker. You ever see the blinker when it has the little logo?
Yeah. Christian's nuts. He's all right. He's like a super villain.
It's a legit car.
Yeah.
A lot of times I'll see pretend supercars or hypercars, and people that work in our area that make those.
Oh yeah.
Oh, you mean the vaporware? The one day we'll build this kind of car?
Yeah, I mean,
no, there's just stuff that looks good on Instagram, but is actually a shitbox.
Like you get in, you can feel the rattle, and you push the dashboard, and you can feel like it's kind of going in and out. Those are legit cars.
They're $4 million.
Yeah, the one was 12 million. The one that broke the record, somebody offered 12 million. He said no. And then the other one, the Jesco, on the flip.
Yeah, on the flip.
And then
money doesn't mean anything to these people.
They said no. After they broke the world record, apparently there was a $12 million something, and they said no, which I can understand because it's the world record holder. It's beautiful. And then another was 4, and another was 2.7.
Well, that makes sense because we've talked about this before. The Koenigsegg, it's hard to judge the future value because they change the car every year.
Yeah.
He's always iterating and improving the thing. So it's not, here's 100 McLaren F1s, they're all the same, therefore they're all equally special. It's it's going to be the Jesco, then the Jesco R, then the STR, then
they have an Absolute now. They have a Track Attack. They have,
Right.
Each one is sort of its own.
So how do you
thing.
decide which one is the most special? Yeah.
The early ones are undervalued, actually. The early.
What I do appreciate about them is it's not the whole Ferrari situation where you have to have a pedigree to be able to get the supercar. They were very anti that. So if you want a car, you can put a deposit on it today. You may not get it for 2 years.
Yeah, but you'll get it. Yeah,
but you'll get it.
Yeah.
Unlike Ferrari, which I told you I got scolded by Ferrari for shooting this video on Ferrari about showing what Ferrari delivered on a what was that 296.
For
Ferrari 296.
For just showing that
I
their
showed
paint sucked.
that the paint was awful, and then I got a phone call and a reprimand saying that they would like me to tone down my rhetoric in the videos. And I was only showing what was. I was like,
They're so sensitive
really bad. And they said,
so
I was like,
sensitive.
I'm not buying a Ferrari. I don't, what are you gonna?
Yeah, what are they gonna
slap my
threaten you with?
wrist? I
Right.
don't know. And they said that they were gonna, have a discussion with the owner of the car, which was code for they put pressure on the owner, and so I had to take that video down. Then I talked to the owner, and he got so whatever. He said, "Put the video up. I don't care anymore." So now the video is back up. And next week's video, I'm comparing.
Next week's video, it's my customer got his allocations taken away.
Yeah. So now he bought a McLaren.
Yeah, exactly. So
My customer got a Koenigsegg.
He came in and looked at it.
Sold by LaFerrari, got a Koenigsegg.
So now I'm comparing the 296 with I have a Lamborghini Revuelto in there, and it's just as bad. It's probably a little bit less, let's say, defect or damage than the 296. However, the 296 was $500,000.
Oh, it's the bug zapper.
Oh,
Sorry.
I thought it was like
Got
a.
one.
We're
It
Then he called it.
bugs me
drop
out
this
too.
microphone. I think we're gonna get
We
electrocuted.
probably should have unplugged that before the show, but yeah.
But the Revuelto is $800,000. So if they're equally bad, I feel like the Revuelto has more to deal with. It's $800,000.
What is the bad part about the paint that you see? Is it orange peel?
No. Orange
Okay.
peel is one thing. There are lots of cars, and there's certainly guys, Kevin and Jason are here, can talk about orange peel, but orange peel is purposely put in most average cars. That's not an average car, I get it, but it's not totally weird. What's weird is to have pigtails, blotchiness, and wherever Jason is, Jason back there, we talked about on the Revuelto, there is this round circle. I can show everybody afterwards, or I can give it to you and you put it up. On the hood of this purple Revuelto, where when the machines come in with the arms and they have the cones on them and they paint and they do all that. What is it? Is it air that gets in there, Jason? It's air that gets stuck in the line, and so instead of it spraying,
Oh, like puffs?
it puffs, and you can see the puff in the middle of the hood. If you look at it
Yikes.
this direction, it's very, very blotchy. So it's like, someone who's running the controls or whatever messed it up. So the point being is, for $800,000 in this episode, I'm posing the question: how much money do you need to spend to not have a car, without an issue? In other words, is it $1 million that's going to be perfect? I can tell you that at $4 million in Koenigsegg, it's perfect. Perfect. Okay, so where do we go from there?
So the question is, what is the cheapest car you can get with perfect paint?
Correct. And I can tell you right now, it's definitely not a Lamborghini Revuelto, which is $800. This one was $729,700 and change, and it was $604. With
You told me you'd seen a Subaru with perfect paint.
I'm not even exaggerating or saying anything. I have more experience, but my wife's Subaru Outback from 2018, phenomenal paint. Maybe it's just a freak of nature or whatever, and it wasn't after I polished it. Phenomenal paint on this car. But however, if you take a WRX,
$38,000 you can
Correct.
get. Yeah.
sold it for $12,000.
Nice.
Yes. So WRX, on the other hand, sometimes not so good, like
Yeah.
soft paint and kind of a paint, blah, 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 blah.
Thin.
But the point is, for $800,000, is it unreasonable to think that paint should be perfect? I'm talking about
No,
pigtails.
no.
And I can show you
No.
pictures where you'd be like mortified.
What is a paint pigtail?
Paint pigtail. Kevin?
Is it like a drip?
No, it's basically when you have
Swirl?
a sand. When
What
when
kind
a
of
car
pig?
comes out of the factory, when it comes out of the paint booth or whatever, you typically sand it. You have dust nibs or imperfections, which is kind of normal, the standard thing with painting, right? And so if somebody's maybe not sanding properly, or maybe the disc is really dirty, or there's expansion and contraction, there's various reasons. Nonetheless, these pigtails are basically, they look like swirls from a pig's tail,
So it looks like a swirl.
but they're really tight.
Okay.
They're like tight little, like those little games where they put the pen in it and you go like this with the.
Yeah.
It looks like that
Spirograph.
to some degree, but smaller. And there's zillions of them everywhere from the sanding process. So the moral of the story is, should you have those? At what price is it ridiculous to have those in there? Like, should it be any car?
I mean, to me, it's pretty low, right? If it was over 60 or 70 grand and your paint wasn't great, I'd be.
We're not
annoyed.
talking about orange peel. Orange peel, that's
No,
horse of
no,
a different
I'm talking
color.
about, like-
I'm talking about damage from them inflicting improper
Because
techniques.
it sounds like it's an inconsistency. So if you have orange peel on 100% of the car, but it's even,
that's
one thing.
That's
but
expected.
if you have these pigtails here but not here, and then over there not there, then that's inconsistency, and that would be very annoying.
Correct. And I think a lot of times, because the car is painted in
Precision
different.
and accuracy.
No, I think the car's painted in different areas. So like this fender's painted here, and this particular carbon fiber, blah, 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 whatever piece is painted at this factory. And they come in at different levels. So I can just sand one side of one part of the car because it's completely, that 296, I mean, pigtails would have been great That's how bad it was. It was like they sanded all the way down to like 1,000 grit and just straight up left it there. Like,
Well,
which is insane.
And
which
they all,
means
I remember this conversation. They all but admitted to you that they knew their
no,
paint
no,
sucked
no.
too.
They didn't all, but they said, "Hey, we understand that we're having issues with our blah blah blah, but you could tone down the rhetoric." And I'm like, "You're calling a YouTuber yelling?" I was like, "Why don't you focus on your factory and stop bothering me about whatever?"
Yeah.
So, I just think it's interesting that a car that is that expensive, but I'm thinking they're adjusting for the wind. What I mean by that is, they're like. One or two,
The car is so fast, we have to adjust it for the wind.
Well, no. It's like, hey, the guy's not going to notice, and if one like little annoying guy on YouTube notices, who cares? Like whatever, because you're not going to like from here to 10 feet away, you're probably not going to see it. But I can tell you the two guys back there from 10 feet away, are Jason and Kevin.
The guy had to buy
everywhere.
7 cars to get that 296. He's not going to complain once it actually shows up.
I mean, it's a little like boys club kind of thing. It's very awkward. So it put me in a bunch of hot water.
If they complain, they don't get the
Cybertruck.
next allocation.
Yeah, I mean,
People, look, being in this business, I can tell you for sure, people are more easily addicted to allocations than they are to the actual cars. The number of cars I have seen people buy that they don't want in the last 3 years
because they want the one
just
above
to stay
it.
in the club.
Right. They want the one that's above it.
Even if the next car that comes, they don't even know what it looks like. They don't know what it's going to be. They don't know what it's going to cost. They don't know if they'll be able to, but they need to stay in that club to be able to
It's
get
like they
that
lose
car.
the status on their credit card. Or
Yeah.
whatever, you know what I mean? It's like, I want the one that's 4 above. I 4 rungs above it. I know that's going to be amazing when it comes out in 20 years.
Yeah.
So I got to buy these other 4 of them and then.
Look, I'm not any better. My wife can tell you very straightforward that I am addicted to my Delta Diamond Medallion status. I ain't giving that shit up for nothing.
Yeah.
I don't care if I have to fly to fucking nowhere before the end of this year. I'll take a lap of America if it gets me to Diamond next year. I've taken so many out of the way flights because I want to be Diamond for next year.
And you
So
don't
I
have a
understand.
Ferrari? That's crazy.
Huh?
And you don't have a Ferrari? You're the perfect
Sold
customer. Yeah, that's true.
I did have a Ferrari. I had an old Ferrari. That's the answer.
Yeah,
the answer to all of this
that's what
is
this dude
buy
is
a
doing.
fucking old
That's
Ferrari.
what this dude is doing. He's like, I'm done with the new cars.
Yeah.
I can't deal with this stuff. And he's buying up all the old stuff.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm done with new cars.
Exit the system.
But yeah, I still haven't figured it out. So that's the this week's episode is trying to figure out. I want to see in the comments what
Right.
people are going to say. Like, I think $1 million, you should have it, whatever. And I'm like,
You
$1 million.
should do one where you compare a Subaru Outback to a Ferrari 296 paint.
Oh my gosh, I can't even.
Yes.
The cease and desist letters I will receive.
go.
For that, it would be unbelievable.
I think
But you're
you
not-
should do an analysis on our Bentley as well. The paint is really good.
Bentley, I just had the new Bentley Flying Spur S.
Bentley has good paint.
That has fantastic paint as well. I don't think quite as good as Koenigsegg. Obviously, it's not $1 million, and this is $300,000. But I just think, I think anything over $100,000 should be pretty darn close to perfection.
Yeah.
$800,000, like
No, what you
you
want
bought a
is
house for
British,
800 grand.
British taste with German QC.
Right.
That's a recipe for success.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think the fit and finish of the Bentley was probably the best I've seen in a long
Oh,
time.
they're the best.
I mean,
Bentley,
like,
the
hands
new
down.
Bentley GT is the best car in the world.
Yeah.
Overall, in terms of all things car,
Right.
that's the best car in the world.
I would agree with that. I think Koenigsegg is great, but it's so far out of reality.
Those aren't
It's-
real cars.
Yeah, they're not real cars.
Those are they're spaceships.
I would say Bentley is the best hand-built, best paint, all things considered, most luxurious, all-around car.
Yeah.
But it's also $330,000.
Not when you buy a 91 Turbo R, my friend. 32.5, you could take it home.
Yeah, and I just might.
Yeah, and you will.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Do we have Patreons?
We have some, but we want to do audience
Well, we could prime the party, Mike. If anyone brave enough to go first.
Dealer.
What happens is no one's brave enough to go first, and then there's like a flurry. So if someone's brave enough to go first, otherwise Zach can pick
Yeah,
the best
look at
off
you.
Patreon. Hey,
Look at this, cameraman extraordinaire.
those pants say you work in post production. Yeah.
All of it. All of it.
Oh wait, Zach, turn the mic on.
There we go.
Say some things.
No on the repeat, but the LM002, now that's a dad car.
Now that is a dad car. That's the Lamborghini SUV from the
Yes,
80s.
yes.
Countach powered, dogleg manual gearbox, and a steal at $400,000.
Tires easy to find.
Oh, yeah, right.
Tires are $20,000 on
Once
that car.
every 2 years when they make them.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
I once found one in that. You guys remember that 300 car barn find? That massive episode where you found, like, I opened up the barn. There was 300 supercars in there. There was one of those, the first one and the last one I've ever seen in real life, all the way in the back, the last car. And he was so proud of it. And he's like, one day I'm going to drive it. I'm like, you have 299 cars you have to move to get this car out of. There was only one door.
Whatever happened to those cars?
Well, I don't think I've ever told this story before, but when I was filming that, you guys know what I'm talking about, the 300 car barn find that like went crazy viral. So I go into this place, the guy wearing sweatpants, like messed up Reeboks, ripped shirt, the whole thing, clearly a billionaire. That's like the
That
billionaire.
is the billionaire outfit.
Right.
Yeah.
But this guy was legit.
T-shirt with the logo of a hospital.
Beard, the whole thing. And he's telling me, so he's telling me the story.
I'm John Hospital. I invented hospitals.
Exactly. And so this guy's like, and he's telling me the story when I first get there. And he's like, I just got out of, the police came and they arrested me. And I'm like, what? He's like, I was walking around my lot because he had just as many cars outside, but they're all dilapidated. And they thought that he was a homeless guy walking around his lot. And I'm like, wow, this is an interesting way to start the story. And I have a GoPro because I didn't think anyone would ever believe me. I have a GoPro down here. He didn't know what a GoPro is. He was like, And so I start filming the thing and he wants to sell all the cars. And I was like, I'm telling you right now, because this is the biggest find of my life. And there's Lamborghinis, there's everything you can imagine, the one he just talked about, and everything you can imagine. And he goes, I want to sell all of them one shot. And I said, if I do like an Instagram tweet, this is gone in 10 minutes. No. Sure enough, within a day or so, we sell the entire lot for $55 million, sight unseen. A German dude comes in.
Seriously?
And he wanted to buy the lifts, and the lifts were so old that they didn't work. Story gets better. So I'm like, listen, I got to film a couple of these cars. Meanwhile, we don't know it's sold at this point, right? And so he's so unique. We go, he's showing me, giving me the tour of the whole thing. We go into one back room, and I open up the door, and the lights turn on. Floor to ceiling, I swear to God, filled with vacuum cleaners still in the box from Home Depot. And I'm like, why do you have so many?
Did you open the boxes? Were they actually vacuums?
They were. What were the orange ones from Home Depot?
Rigid?
Rigid. They were rigid. Thank you. Rigid. And I looked at it and I was like, well, why do you have 120 boxes of?
Well, if we spill the cocaine I sell, we got to vacuum it off the floor.
His answer
goes
to
everywhere.
His answer to me was exactly the quintessence of the rest of my relationship with him. He goes, because there was a sale. Like, and he looked at me like, what? Why would you not buy 120?
Every time he cleans, he'll only use a brand new vacuum.
But the guy never cleans. I mean, he never cleaned anything in his whole life. So
One day.
That's the idea.
What was the most expensive individual car?
$399. The vacuum, the rigid deluxe.
He had an original
5 gallon. It's a real winner.
Original Shelby Cobra in there. He had
a Mura. I think he sent me.
He had a Mura.
Yeah.
He had one of these with like no miles on it behind me.
That he's pointing to a Murcielago.
A Merce. He had a Daytona in there. Like crazy stuff. So long story short, the guy, I get him what he wants. I put him in touch with this guy from Germany that has all these crazy cars, and he said he wanted to keep 1 or 2 cars out of it. So the German guy loses his mind, and then he says, I want to see an inventory of everything that's there. And the guy, to this day, has no idea what he has. And he said, I can't sell it because I can't put together a spreadsheet. We're talking $55 million. And I said, I will go back down there and I will inventory every car. It'll take me a day, and I'll put it in a spreadsheet.
2-3 points.
Yeah, right. Well, yeah. I mean, I did
5%.
That was a finder's fee for sure. Like there was already established. Like I was out. I'm like, this is the greatest day of work ever. The guy refuses to do it. I go into his office. As I walk into his office, I step on a pile of dog poo. So his stuff is everywhere, and there's dogs everywhere, and there's poop everywhere. And I'm like, all right. So the guy decides, you know what? I'm not going to sell it because I don't have a spreadsheet of all the products. Now, while I'm filming, this is all going on while I'm filming. And I said, hey, I would love to be able to film without you kind of like interfering because I want to get this film done, and you want me to get out of here and all that stuff. You say, no problem. So the dude decides to get in an army crawl, and he's crawling between the cars while I'm filming. Let's say I'm filming, a car back there. He crawls underneath the cars, and I'm hearing the he's like, his shirt got stuck on the exhaust underneath there, and he's going and I'm looking underneath there, and I'm like, what are you doing? And he's like, I didn't want to disturb you. And I have this all on camera. I couldn't release it, but this is the type of, and so long story short, again, the guy was so involved with like his self-image with these cars that he couldn't Even though he got the money that he wanted, he couldn't sell the cars. So to this day, they sit there and they're rotting, literally rotting.
Oh, that's a bummer.
And his caretaker, who's a really nice guy, who was obviously sane, said that every time he would go to an event, he would buy $15, $20 million worth of cars, never look at them again. Just get delivered and they get put in the back. Anyways, that's where that car was, because I found it. I'm like, oh my God, this is like the holy grail of Lamborghinis. Cars, I guarantee you that car is still sitting there.
There's a guy in LA. They're selling his RM. I think is selling his collection right now.
But it's usually when they pass away.
Yeah.
Because their self-worth is tied up into these cars that you can't really get rid of them. There was so much more like psychology going on with this guy. I mean, aside from the fact him army crawling in his own building, where he could would tell me to get out, but he didn't want to disturb me. Instead, it's like, dude,
that's nuts.
Yeah, the guy was crazy, but I don't know if he's still alive or not. But
he owns Twitter.
What?
He owns Twitter.
You know Twitter?
Have you guys heard of the Cybertruck?
Yeah, exactly.
There's a guy who died in LA and had 60, 70 cars, all vintage Italian stuff, 3-4 Miuras, multiple Ferraris of that period, and RM is now listing them. And RM's Instagram feed is hilarious because these cars are all. Obviously, they have value, right? Even a totally trashed Miura has value, right? Because you can restore it and whatever. But the auction, the descriptions are hilarious because it's like a phenomenal example of an early Series 1 Miura with the original blue paint and the Pepita interior. And you look at it and it's like, looks like the Titanic. Yeah. it's like a phenomenal example of unmolested. It's like, that needs a 7-figure restoration, right, exactly. Dude. That is like
do you think the success,
a VIN number and junk?
The success of the unrestored cars at Monterey this year will then make that a new trend where they can like upsell,
where they just sell
piles
trash.
Of shit.
Yeah, probably. I mean, they always. This is how auction companies work. I mean,
the mouse urine in the back is untouched in this 300 SL.
Real authentic whiff of piss.
Yeah, there's we did a Miura on the show. We found a Miura in a living room, and long story short, again, because I can't give in too many details, but basically that car was sold, and they didn't want us to clean it.
Yeah, I was there.
You saw? Did you see that?
It was at Gooding.
Was it?
Yeah, we were there. It just sold. It was it just sold at Pebble.
What it's
$2,040,000. Yeah, low twos. It actually did not.
I thought it was going to go for $4.
Auctions were very soft this year.
That's
the
interesting.
60s Italians were very, very soft.
Because it was purchased for 1.2 that day. Then it flipped to another guy, and that other guy didn't want it.
Yeah, it had dust all over it.
Yeah,
it was dirty.
He's like, I only wanted.
We saw it at the Gooding auction preview, covered in dust.
So 2.4.
No, 2,040,000, 2.04.
Oh wow, I thought it was going to go.
Yeah, it was not. It was not a.
That's not a good look.
No, but to restore that car is probably $800,000. At which case, maybe you get. The
top end of it, the engine.
It's probably better. It was probably smarter to sell it as is than to put $700,000-800,000 into it and only come back with $5. Yeah. But I mean, but all Italians were soft this year. 60s Italians, 90s through the roof. 90s and neo vintage F50s, F40s, LP640 stick, stuff like that through the roof. 60s all soft.
I mean, you think that's the younger market wants cars they can drive?
Yeah, exactly.
That older demographic is probably winging
I mean,
out.
the Miura is beautiful, but I don't think the dynamics are great.
No, they're not.
They're not known
people
for
want
that.
stuff they can drive.
Yeah.
So like Lusos and all that stuff from the 60s was all soft.
Really?
Yeah. It's. I mean, if people are into that, it's a good time to buy.
Right.
But yeah.
Wow. Where are these questions?
We're here, aren't we?
We're here. As soon as I get off this thing, I'm going to have 4,000 questions when I go back.
People don't want to shoot them in public, but Zach's got a couple off our Patreon. So for people at home, if you want to ask questions at the show, patreon.com/the Smoking Tire Podcast, you can get an ad-free listening experience. You get the show early, etc., etc. But you're behind party mic people.
Oh, there he is. We got one.
What's up? What's your name, man?
Arson.
Arson?
Yeah.
Arson?
Yeah.
ARSO.
Name
As in like the crime?
The family business.
Not a felony.
Holy shit.
Not a felony.
Arson.
Not a felony.
Every time he's like, I'm arson, but not the felony.
Exactly.
Felony would be a good name.
Yeah.
It's a middle name.
Yeah. That's my middle name.
What? All right.
Yeah. And my wife here, Miss Demeanor. Sorry. What do you got, Arson?
For a fun dad car. Rather than that, why don't you look at the RS6 over there?
The RS6 Avant is a fun dad car.
This is the conversation we were having earlier. So to get rid of the Taycan Cross Turismo because of the mileage thing, the next thing I was looking at was the RS6. From what I understand, though, from you and some other folks, that
I think they can be a little stiff.
A little stiff. A little
suspension
rough.
wise. Mostly the tire size. Like they have huge wheels. And
they
on
got
the East
big
Coast,
rims.
it might be bumpy.
And people were saying that after a while, it's more of like a meh, like driving kind of thing.
Those cars look amazing.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
And that one over there in that, I think that's
What is that,
Mazzano blue? Is that Mazzano blue? Anyone know? Anyone know what that color is? Is it Nogaro? Do they bring back actual Nogaro? I don't know, because remember Nogaro was cursed. Do you guys? Is anyone old enough to remember the curse of Nogaro blue? When Audi had the S4 in the 99 to 02, the B5 Audi S4, Nogaro blue was like the launch color. Everyone wanted Nogaro blue.
Yeah.
But they were crashed at an unbelievable rate. There are like no Nogaro blue cars left. And people would say, and they were crashed at about triple the rate of all the other colors. Like the percentage of crash was so high. Everybody I knew that had one totaled it. I knew 3 people that had a Nogaro S4. They all totaled it. And into stationary objects, because those cars just had no brakes and understeered like crazy. So it was telephone pole. And so people would say that that Nogaro blue was cursed.
Got it.
And so for the next generation of the car, they tweaked the color ever so slightly and called it Sprint Blue. And they kept Sprint Blue for like 10 years. And I think they may have...
That's called Ultimate Blue.
That's Ultimate
from
Blue.
What the internet says.
Yeah, it didn't look quite like the same as Nogaro, but that's a lovely color over there. So anyway, you can read on the forums about the curse of the Nogaro Blue. Some say they had bowls of water in their passenger footwells.
It's the Model T of Germany, it sounds like, in terms of brakes.
But the problem with RS6s are if you're not going very fast, which they are good at, they're kind of boring to drive, actually. They're not all that interesting to drive.
They look great, though.
Yeah. They do look great. It's okay. Vinny's over there. Don't worry.
Oh, that's a customer.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all
There
good.
he is.
It's all... That's his car? That thing is rad, man. I haven't met you yet, but your shark nose is... everyone give the shark nose owner a round of applause. Or don't. For having a shark nose. I didn't know if they would really do it.
Yeah, they did.
I didn't know if they'd really do it. Okay, and shout out to Arson for having the best name of the day. Absolutely. Zach, do we have one off the Patreon that is good for Larry? What do we got?
Peg Leg Racing says, I have a 66 GTO project with old chalky paint. If you wipe a damp paper towel on it, it takes the paint up. How should I take care of it until I can afford to paint it in a few years?
All right, so we're going to have a little special person come up right now to answer that question.
Okay.
By the name of Kevin and Jason.
Kevin
and Jason.
Kevin
There you
Brown,
go. Come on up.
The buff
Come
daddy.
on up. Come on up. Yeah. Really, look at No, go to. God, don't come up here. Get out of here.
Yeah, go
to the
over
party
there.
mic. Go to the party
I don't
mic.
want you over there.
Go to the party mic. That's what it's for. It's for you.
It's for you. You guys can sing a duet together.
These two are also very, very talented and very well
Far
known
superior
detailers.
to any detailing I've ever done.
Yeah.
These are my mentors.
His shoes say I detail cars for a living.
That's right.
Everyone so far is wearing employment appropriate outfits today.
That's it. So did you guys hear that question?
No.
Oh, that's good. This is great.
Harmonizing, good.
Something about paint and wiping and
Yeah.
1966 GTO. The guy's wiping it, and
paint is coming
It takes
off
paint
on
up.
the rag.
He wipes it with
It's chalky.
a damp rag. So how can he protect the
So,
paint until he can paint it?
my advice is don't do that.
thank you guys. Thank you.
What can
Right,
you
go
do?
sit
Can you
down.
do anything? Or is it just donezo?
So obviously the paint, it's single stage paint. He's wiping it. It's probably all oxidized and UV, degrading, et cetera, et cetera. So when he's wiping it, it's probably turning super red or green or whatever the car is, probably red.
Well, paint coming off on a towel, it could be one of two things. It's oxidation, which a single stage is going to be the color of the car is going
Correct.
to come off on a towel.
Yep.
Oxidation's the easy fix. You can remove that and you got hopefully good paint underneath. So one remedy is polish it, and then you won't have this oxidation coming off.
Is that a dice roll? Might you polish it and
Yeah.
just end up with metal?
Well, we have
Typically,
devices
when they
that
paint
you
it, it's
can-
really thick on single stage.
You can measure the paint, make sure you have enough paint to polish it. But so one answer is polish it, but the other answer is and without seeing the paint, it's hard to tell. But it could be the paint is just degraded, and it's beyond repair, and then you don't want to do anything. My first answer was correct. Don't touch it. Don't do anything.
Okay.
So
But in that question, is he saying when he wipes it with a wet towel, it turns like nice colors?
Yeah.
He just says paint comes off.
Yeah.
It takes paint up.
that's probably
That's probably what it means,
oxidation,
yeah.
Yeah, sometimes the paint is.
Wait, Mike, Kevin, Mike.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got
okay.
you.
Talk to the mic.
Sometimes the paint gets so degraded that it dries out completely. So even though you think that you could just polish the top and expose a fresh layer, that layer is also completely dried out, not resilient, not flexible, and it's not going to restore. So the best thing you could do is use a hand-applied polish. They used to call them show car glazes or hand glazes, and that will remove the uppermost portion of oxidation, and then you seal things off with a traditional carnauba wax, and that's it. You get a fake shine, and that's all you can do.
You get a fake shine.
Yeah, because sometimes you'll wash it and say, "Hey, it looked good before I washed it. Now it's dry again," because you're washing off the hand glaze or the wax. So
Sure.
just keep it waxed up at that point.
All right. Thank you, boys.
I think it's a reasonable.
Appreciate it.
That's awesome.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I knew we'd find a way to work them in.
Yeah. As you did.
All right. Benjamin Gerald says, Larry, I live in Arizona where we have a lot of hard water and high heat, so water spots are super easy to get accidentally. Any tips on avoiding water spots in a high heat environment with hard water?
Yeah, first thing for sure, wash a car not in the sun. That's pretty obvious. But a lot of times you can do that early in the morning, late at night. You can do it indoors. Second thing is obviously having water filters. You can use that. I also plug here, but I make a product called Boost that has certain chemicals in there, certain products, chelates that actually attach to a lot of the hard water particles to make them basically render them inert or less effective at making water spots. So that's number 3. And I think the fourth or wherever we're on right now is if you don't let the water sit for too long. What are we on, 3 or 4?
We're on 4.
4, there you go.
Good job. There we go.
What after 3? 4.
There you go.
Got it. And not let it sit there for too long. So do a wash faster. So if you let it sit and it dries, then you're going to get water spots. But if you don't let it dry, if you just work faster. So a couple of things. And I don't usually find it to be that big of a deal, but most of the time people just keep the traditional wash outside. It's sunny, it's Sunday, I'm having a good time, whatever. And then let's say they spray the car down, and then they work on the wheels. Well, by the time they finish wheel 1, 2, 3, listening to the music, having a soda, whatever, the water on the top of the car has evaporated, et cetera, et cetera. So just little things like that will help them.
We get blasted with sprinklers here. When you
Well,
park
that-
on the street,
that's
you
the-
get
that's
blasted
the
with
real
the
problem.
Sprinkler. Oh,
That's the real
worst.
problem because you're at work, you're at the gym, you're at wherever you are, and
You don't
you're not,
see it until 8 hours
right,
later.
and
You're
then
hosed.
that's like having a tree fall on you can't protect against that. It just happens, kind of thing. So, I mean, if you protect
That's
it
when
with
you need
coatings,
ammo reflex.
yes, if you coat it. So there you go.
Okay.
There's my answer.
All right. Craig asks, audience question. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll put off Craig. What do you got? What's your
Yeah,
name?
my name's Drew.
Drew.
So going back to your car wash days, what's like the funniest or most like memorable story you have from having that together?
The
I
clam
think-
chowder?
That's hysterical.
Is that what
I
you were
was
going
just
to
going to say that.
I mean, it is the best. Well, I
right,
won't,
so
I won't
the-
take it from you, but
So basically, our old car wash man and I, we were near an airport called Westchester Airport. So there's JFK and all the ones everybody knows about, but there's like a smaller one north called Westchester, and we lived in an area that there's a lot of wealth and people who had fancy cars. At that point, it was an S4. It was like the new car of the day.
it's Negaro Blue.
Yeah, so it's the greatest car ever. So this lady gets the car, and she goes to the airport, and there's a part of the airport called Million Air. Million Air is the name of and you would fly out in your private plane. But a lot of times, people would bring their own food on private planes. So she goes to the supermarket, gets crab legs and a lot of things, and loses the crab legs in the car. She leaves the car on the runway, because it's a private airport, goes off and does whatever rich people do, comes back, and it's destroyed. It smells, blah, blah, blah. They drop it off to us. I still have that picture, by the way. First time I put a bunny suit on and the mask and the whole thing because it stunk up. The first shop that we had was really 2 bays. The third bay was our horrible office that had no heat. And then upstairs was somebody was renting. So
I forgot there's an apartment above.
yeah. So when we pulled it in, they were like freaking out, like what the, like this is, we can't even breathe. Our eyes are watering. So anyways, long story short, we had to disassemble everything in the car down to the metal. I remember it like it was yesterday because it was the first time I've ever disassembled a brand new car down to the metal. We scrubbed the metal. We cleaned it. The insurance adjuster came in and totaled a car that had 400 miles on it.
Yeah.
Because
it
of
was
the
a brand
smell.
new car.
You can't do anything about it. There's not. It's in the cushion.
He said crab legs, but it was a chowder.
Chowder,
it was
whatever,
a seafood
something crab,
chowder
whatever.
that was spilled in the.
It went
back.
behind the bottom of the thing,
and it was left
and it
in
went
the car.
on the. It was atrocious.
It smelled exactly as bad as you are picturing something like that to smell.
It was like the first ever like disaster detail without me really knowing it.
It was it was literally a bowl of soup that totaled a $50,000 brand.
It's
new
because
car.
it sat on the runway. It heated up, got hot or whatever, and she couldn't drive it again. But I know it had less than 1,000 miles.
There was another one where a guy had a Chevy
Did it moisturize
Suburban.
the leather?
Huh?
Did it moisturize the leather?
It moisturized the leather. Was real moist, like the skin of a fish.
Yeah, exactly.
It had scales on it though.
And then there was a Chevy Suburban, and a guy had gone out of town for like a month and parked it in his driveway with the sunroof cracked. And when he came back from his vacation, every surface of the car was covered in mold,
like trees.
Yeah, it was absolutely heinous.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
it
can
was
get
really
real
gross.
sick doing those things.
Yeah, it wasn't good.
No, those are the days though, man. We used to do a lot of car washes.
and the mobster.
Which one?
So there was I'll tell this one. So
Dude,
we were
in Harrison.
We were in Harrison,
right.
New York, and Harrison,
Which
New York
one?
is where all the Brooklyn mobsters moved when they had like kids. It was the suburban Brooklyn, basically. So it was super, super Goomba land. And so we had a guy whose name I will not use, but he was basically Paulie Walnuts from The Sopranos. He had wings in his hair. He wore a Sergio Tacchini, suit.
I finally remember what he's talking
with the
about.
Nike Cortez and the chain and the wife beater under the warm-up suit.
I don't remember his name, but I know what you're talking about.
I do, but I'm not going to say it. And
I don't think he's alive.
dropped off a BMW X5 with us for a full detail, and then went to the trunk, got out a shovel and a rope, and just walked away and said, "I'll see you in a few hours." And we're like, "All right, man." And that was very, very shady. And there was nothing with the car that was that weird.
No.
But he lived about a mile up the road from the shop. And he called and asked, would we bring the car back to his house when we were done, which we did. So we brought it back to his house. We get to his house, and it's like a colonial-style house, like a lot of the New York kind of homes
There was
are
a
suburban.
gate. I remember a gate.
There was a gate. All the windows in the house were tinted black, like limo tint on
I remember
the house.
walking up the steps to that place.
Yeah.
I can't believe you're bringing that up.
And then we go into the house. He invites us in, and he goes, "Why don't you come downstairs?" And we go downstairs, and it's like 11 a.m. on a Tuesday, and there's a poker game going on downstairs with cigars.
He was real.
And like 5 other Goomba dudes.
Yeah.
Hey, these are the kids from up the road. They do the cars.
My
Everyone
car's
is-
real clean now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They
Real
went back
clean.
the trunk for
You're not
$20.
gonna find nothing in there.
And
You know
we
what
were
I'm saying?
just, and we left, and we're like, I don't think I want to go in that guy's house anymore.
Yeah.
Like it was sketchy.
Yeah, we had some good times in there.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was.
You guys use bleach when you clean the inside of a car? Like if someone swabbed it afterwards, would all of the DNA show up?
Yeah.
Asking for a friend.
Oh, and we had we ran tabs for people. So we had
that lawyer.
tabs for people.
Mr. Capucci.
Yeah, and a couple of his, and some of these guys, their kids would come in and
Like-
get
like
a wash
baller, like try to-
every day.
Just to be cool and like hang out or
like
whatever.
real like AJ. I'm bringing up Sopranos again because I just watched that David Chase thing last night on HBO.
This is back in the day when spinners were cool.
Yes,
You remember
the
he had
spree wells.
spinners?
He had
Yeah.
he had spree wells on the Escalade, the spinners, and they would come after school every day and get a wash. And then the guy's dad would call us, $4,000 in washes. It's your kid, man. I don't know. What do you want?
What do you want me to say?
cut
No?
him off.
I'm like, listen, your dad said you can't get another wash. I was like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? And he called him up and said, Dad, I need another wash. I mean, like crazy. You could, and you're like, I can't believe I'm sitting here right now to wash this
Every
guy's car.
day. I mean, how dirty? Their car wasn't
Well,
getting
it was
dirty,
like a
just for the
thing
flex,
after school
right?
because we were on the way back from school.
And
So he would like hang out and he'd want to see what's going on and see all the other cars. And
Yeah.
he's a kid, and I'm like, whatever. And his
He was
dad is like a
17.
super high-powered
Can
lawyer.
you clean the back seat?
Matter of fact, he had a Bentley.
Yeah.
He had a Bentley.
Yeah,
He
but
had,
the kid had
he had
the
an Aston.
Escalade with the spinners, and then he...
And his steering wheel, I'd have to drive it sometimes, get an oil change or whatever, deal with his son. His steering wheel would shake
Yeah,
like
because the
violently
rims were
because the
so
rims were all messed up.
imbalanced. It was so... And then he crashed that car and got an M3.
Yes.
Or, it was one of those things where you crashed to upgrade.
Mm-hmm.
The kid would get a Dewey and crash the car and then mysteriously show up with a car that was 10 grand more expensive the next day.
You're fucking up your way to the top. That's what you're
That
doing.
happened in our high school multiple times.
That's very true.
So many kids Dewey'd their way into M3s. Yeah.
I haven't thought about
They
him in a long
rolled the
time.
Grand Cherokee and the next day showed up with an M3. It's more stable, Ma.
Yeah, exactly.
So anyway. Yeah. Anyone else on this party, Mike? Yes, you. What's your name, man?
Hello, I'm Skylar.
Skylar. All right.
What advice would you give to your younger self to run a successful car detailing business?
That is a great question.
Shit.
He was like planted there.
Yeah.
Funny, you should ask. I mean, there's so much that we can talk about, but I think right off the bat, I just created 90 episodes that haven't been seen before to the public, and really talking about the ins and outs of how I started a detailing business, but more focusing on how to make a profitable detailing business, because there's like a very slippery slope where you can just be, hey, I want to wash cars forever, because we're so passionate about being around these cars, cleaning them, and we love, bringing shine back to things, which is great and admirable. But there's a huge space or gap between that and being actually profitable. And so I could talk for 3 days about this, but essentially I created a ton of videos that I can direct you towards. But I would say from the very beginning, I think understanding that it's okay to be profitable and not to be a martyr as a detailer for whatever reason. Our industry, I don't know anything about plumbing or electrical or whatever. Detailers have this way of becoming so passionate and enthusiastic about cleaning a car that they forget very quickly how to make profit. And it gets old very quickly, and people tend to go out of business or wear themselves out, or basically, quote unquote, make a living. Like, I just make enough to pay the bills. That's what my brain thinks about it. I make enough money to pay the bills, and then I can continue on. And that circle keeps going and going. And because we're considered kind of lower level workers in the United States and other countries, Jason can speak to this, detailing is considered more like body shop level or even higher. And it's a very highly respected profession. Here, there's a lot of downward pressure on making profit as a detailer. And so that's such a huge question that I think just thinking about the fact that it's okay to make profit and how do I make profit, looking at my profit and loss sheet, how am I pricing things, where's my branding, how do I dress every day, am I getting a haircut every 2 weeks? Like, I'm very militant about all those things because it works with the brand, and the brand develops a lot of dollars that then come in off of that branding. So in other words, you're not just like washing cars. And I think in the beginning, I didn't realize, I thought I would just do, the more cars I can wash at $30, the more money I'll make. And that doesn't make a whole lot of sense for long term. As I'm getting older, I'm not your age anymore. Like, I can't do 50 cars a day anymore. I can do 10 or whatever. And it just keeps going down and down. So I wish I would have known that sooner, so I didn't like blow out both knees and hands and fingers all crushed. So we'll talk more about that because I can go for 3 hours. But yeah, that's what I would think about. How to be profitable as a detailer, not just following your passion. Make sense?
Do you think a lot of people go into detailing because they like cars and it's a way to be around it? So that way they're more prone to martyrdom?
That is a death trap, because you're not bringing value to a particular market, and you're not thinking about, hey, can this area sustain a detailing business? Oh no, there's 17 other ones. Oh wow, this company does it really well and they're charging this much. How are you gonna? I think cars are so alluring. They're so beautiful, and there's such a draw to it, right? Where there's no argument. We're all sitting here and we're doing this right now. I get it. But is it a viable business? And a viable business is something that can bring value. And is someone willing to trade their money for your value? And it's not, I'm not like saying something that people haven't heard 1,000 times before, but we get so blinded by the shininess, pun intended, on the car that it just seems rampant in the detailing world, at least what I've seen, that at all cost, you spend all of your time, money, and effort on learning how to polish paint and how to perfect the interior, but nobody spends any fraction of that amount of time on how to actually run a business to make it profitable, which would be completely insane in any other industry.
Well, it's the same thing with like making videos. I mean, the number of people that I talk to who make videos who are like bad at the business of making videos,
Right.
not managing their time properly, not like considering actual, opportunity costs and whatever. It's the same thing.
Right. Yeah. Meaning like YouTube videos when they spend like a week doing it and make $20 on it.
Yeah.
I think you can apply that theory to anything, but for some reason, I only know detailing. To me, it seems like there is an increased percentage because detailers themselves are so fastidious and crazy and wacky and whatever that it's just amplified that it's okay to be a martyr and just, metaphorically, I always, when I get angry, I go, what do we do? Lick your wheels too? Like, like it's got to be perfect kind of thing. And you just go overboard and overboard. We call it the detailing dilemma, where you're just doing way more work for what you're actually getting back. And I will be very honest with you, I am guilty of that all day long. Even my guy Jordan says it all the time, where I'll just spend way too much time because I'm in my head, I'm enjoying. So if you ask me of all the things I'm doing, short of making products when I was physically making them, now we make so much that I can't physically make them because we move a lot of products now. That was the most fun I've ever had. It was really developing, mixing it, failing, figuring out, oh no, I need to do this or that. I like putting headphones on and just like doing chemistry. The thing I like the most is putting headphones on and actually detailing the car. But at this point in my career, it's where I make the least amount of profit for my time. So my point I'm making is it's very addicting to do lots of cool, fun things cleaning a car, but it's way not profitable unless you plan for that. So that's what people think the difference of like marketing and advertising. You guys know what the difference between marketing and advertising is? Most people think they're the same thing. Anyone want to take a gander at it? Advertising is reaching more people with the thing you're trying to sell, but marketing is done beforehand. What am I selling? What value am I bringing to this? How much can I charge for? How much is that guy charging for? And can I charge more or less? And it typically be, if it's $100, I'm going to charge $90. And they're like, well, if that guy charges $90, I'm going to charge $80. And it's just toilet bowl pricing. And again, it's just way rampant in the detailing industry that nobody takes the time to think, is this even a business that somebody wants? And maybe we're in a city, I'll give you an example, and there's all these executives. They don't have time to bring the cars in. So why not start a mobile detailing business? No, I want a fixed space. No, that's because you want the fixed space and you want to play with that and you want to have a cool shop. But the market may not want that. And so I think that's what I'm trying to what I wish I would have known.
That happens in the car storage business, which I'm in. Everybody builds a huge lounge because they want to have a clubhouse.
Correct.
They want to be the place. But guess what? That huge lounge, they could have fit 18 cars in there making money.
Well, that's a practical thing. Yeah. But the real does your customer ask you to sit in the lounge?
No,
of
never.
Course. That's the point I'm making. Does the customer, I want you to come to my house. That's the business. Not like, come look at my beautiful place. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It has to be a draw for it. And I feel like people go like, I want to be a detailer. I'm buying this place. I'm going to build it and they will come. And it's like, that is a recipe for failure. So I could go on for hours on this stuff, but you get where I'm going with all that stuff. You need to market beforehand, and marketing is figuring out what your market is. What can you sell? Yes.
Hi.
A lot of hopping over there.
I know.
That
I'm
works.
actually his mom.
All right.
Okay.
Well, let's
became
scold
a
him.
fan when he was watching it. Then I became a fan. Anyways, would we actually see you two internationally, like in Japan, where the car culture is crazy hot? Would we see you globally somewhere else? In other
ammo
countries?
specifically?
Or and either one of you or both
I mean,
of you?
I can speak to ammo, then he can certainly talk that.
I've been to Japan. It's great. I want to go back.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of reason to work over there, but I want to go on vacation and eat all the ramen and rent a Skyline and drive the Hakone Turnpike again because that was awesome. It's a great place.
Yeah. No, I think we're expanding strategically, and we could, with the size, meaning it's me and a project manager. And so if I expand too fast, just like, drinking from a fire hose, I could also die. You can die without any air, meaning your business, you don't have any cash flow, or you grow too big too fast and you also die because I can't supply anything. So we're strategically growing and picking places here, Australia, and to try to test the waters. But, and I say this with, not to impress you, but to impress upon you. We could push a button and be much larger than we are. And I think it makes people scratch their head and go like, why would he not do that? Because I want to be very, very precise and very sure that I can handle all of that and make sure the branding, everything has got to be perfect. And it might be too perfect, but I'd rather be too perfect than fall flat. So yes, I have probably in Japan, I probably have 5 or 6 people, just distributors and that kind of thing that would want to take the product on tomorrow. But I'm not quite ready for that yet. We're trying to make sure that everything is perfect, but I've also been trying to make it perfect for 10 years. So at some point I probably have to pull the trigger, and we're hoping with this amazing press that we're going to be getting hopefully soon, I'll be in a better position to make a more qualified analysis of whether to do that or not. Not a very sexy answer, but that's the truth.
Last call, going once, going twice.
Yes, sir. Oh, we got a couple of them.
Couple. All you have to do is say last call,
Yeah,
as it
there you
turns
go.
out.
Oh.
Really, the key is to present a sense of urgency.
You guys should arm wrestle this right now. All right, who's first? Hello. What's your name?
Wait, tilt it up a little bit so we can hear you.
My name's Lucy.
Hey, Lucy.
And I was wondering, for the everyday person, would you suggest someone buy products like yours or to buy a car wash subscription and do it? Does it make more sense to go to a car wash versus do your own car?
That's a good question. So it has to, what you're basically asking is, should I do it myself and do it properly and take the time and so on and so forth, and I'm not saying this to be funny or facetious, or should I have it quickly done and may not be as good and all that kind of stuff. It really depends on 2 things. One, how much you care, but I'm going to go out on a limb that you're standing in a room full of crazy card people and asking this question that you probably do care. And the second thing would be how much time you have to do that. So I'm always of the fan. Obviously, I'm biased because this is what I live for. But I think if you're going to do it right. Forget about that. Yeah, I don't believe in that. Okay, fine. You're damaging your car by not doing it properly. So the speed, they say you can't have it fast, good, and cheap, right? The whole saying. The speed and the biggest misconception is, well, no. Every time I have this conversation, no. You're thinking of a car wash. I'm taking it to a touchless car wash. And I go, that's worse. And they're like, what? So if you think about washing a car without touching it, you have to increase the strength of the chemical, whether it's all the way down the pH level, acid, or all the way up the pH level, a base, right? So at the ends of the scale, that's where you have strength. They're equally acid or base. So for instance, when you're working on wheels, you're going to probably lean more towards acid or something, right? In a car wash. If you're trying to take dirt or oils or something like that off a car, you're going to have something very high because you're not agitating it. So the moral of the story is, when you go through those touchless car washes, the chemicals that are touching those cars are more powerful because you're not touching it. You get what I'm saying? So it's actually doing more damage, and you're jeopardizing the integrity of the clear coat doing that in general. So my advice would be to do that. What?
That explains my clear coat.
There you go. So
and where it went.
Yeah, it's probably all dried. Exactly. So I would recommend you do it at home for, quite honestly, a lot of therapeutic reasons. Like I like doing it in the morning to kind of like zone out and whatever. You can do it in a faster way. There's things that you can do on a more regular basis that have less water, and there's ways to do that. But at the top of the pyramid, it's really making a decision. Do you care about this car enough to have it on long term? Then you should probably do I always give the analogy, it's like going to the gym. My favorite thing is people go like, you know what? I want to pop some pills. I'm going to go to the gym once or twice, look like Arnold Schwarzenegger or insert famous person, and I'll be good. It's like, I don't know how to, I can't, you either got to do the work or you don't kind of thing. So there's kind of nothing in between. What's fascinating is the coating market kind of plopped in the middle. Coating said, and in the beginning I had a lot of issues with coatings because it overpromised for people thinking the way that, you're in your mind right now saying like, hey, if I put a coating on the car, maybe I don't have to like wash it anymore. And it's like, well, coatings are fantastic and they do last a long time, but they don't defy the laws of physics. There's still going to be dirt. I can't like make dirt go away. It's just easier to clean, or you have more layers of protection between the body and the dirt. And so I think a lot of people fall into that trap. So I'll try to minimize by saying, I think you should obviously do the proper wash if you plan on keeping that car long term, or you feel a certain way when you drive it and it looks better. I would say this, there's not one person that's going to disagree with me that when your car is clean, it feels better when you're driving. I don't know why. I don't have any like measurements for that, but it's just an awesome feeling. So I think I would strongly encourage you to do a proper wash, and I would rather you leave the car dirty than wash it improperly just to have it clean. Does that make sense to some degree? Is that helpful or annoying now that you have to wash your car every day?
He could have just said wash it yourself.
No. I gotta give a reason.
There was a 2-word answer to that.
No.
That he turned into 2.5 minutes.
That's right.
All right, we got
you,
two
you came
more.
here for details. You didn't come here for some.
We knew what the answer to that
You know
was.
what you signed up for, right?
Yeah.
Yes,
What's
sir.
up, man? What's your name?
My name's Avi.
Avi. All right, what do you got, Avi?
So, like, based on the design alone, like, not like the mess that was in the car, what's the most, like, tedious car you've ever detailed?
Ooh.
Tedious.
And, like, not like the mess that was inside, but the
like
car
a
itself
car
made
that's
it
by
difficult.
design hard to clean.
Oh, okay. Yes. I know exactly what you're talking about now. I would
Hummer
say,
H1.
dude, his Hummer H1 was the most annoying
What a
car
piece of
ever.
shit.
And
It was
the G55
junk.
wagon. Those are the two ones that when I
yeah.
see those two cars, I'm like, for multiple reasons, the G wagon, but I there's something about those. There's like, it's very awkward. It's tall. It's weird. It's just, I would say the G wagon in real life, the H1 in like a dream world, because you only see them every once in a while. The H1 was a horrible car.
The H1, what a nightmare. It was riveted together. And so all the water gets in all the... you cannot dry an H1.
You
It's
have to
impossible.
disassemble all of the things. You have to open up everything.
Absolutely impossible to dry that car. What a nightmare.
I'm firm with H1. End of story. H1 that's the most
You
difficult.
could break a Cybertruck by washing it. There's documented
Wasn't the
examples of
F40 challenging because it had 3 different materials? Like, are there cars like that where it's like, here's carbon,
that's
here's
for
aluminum?
polishing.
That's
not
for polishing,
yeah.
but that's a challenge and whatever. Like, that's a different kind of challenging. I know that the H1 and the G-Wagon are the horrible ones. There's just something about doing those cars that are just, I don't like doing those cars. Sorry.
That
Don't bring those to
H1
me.
was the worst car I've ever owned.
Yeah.
Which you probably could have called that. My parents did call it.
Yeah,
Like,
I remember
you're
they
gonna
were
hate that.
very anti that when you
My
got that
parents
car.
were very. You know who loved it? My 100-year-old grandmother.
Yeah.
She's. You look like the boys in the war. My grandma was all about that.
she was.
What a piece of junk. All right.
I borrowed your truck to go to a funeral. Do you remember that?
No. I hated the Hummer so much that I would let anybody who wanted to drive it drive it. I did not care. Take the thing. Get it out of here.
Yeah.
It's like driving a school bus.
Your dad was very anti that.
You know what? He was right. He's a very smart guy, as it turns out.
Guy.
What do you got, bro?
Hey guys, good afternoon. Thanks for hosting us.
No worries.
First comment to the earlier discussion we were having about threshold for perfect paint. I would contend that whatever price you purchase a car at, you should have perfect paint. I feel like your tolerance may be higher for imperfect paint as you get lower on the spectrum. But I don't know. I just feel like if you're spending your hard-earned money, your paint should be perfect.
But I seem to find the worst paint in the higher value
Sure.
cars. Maybe it's because I'm not looking, or maybe that's just the type of cars that I get in. But for some reason,
and a lot of those cars are, when they're like, quote, paint to sample, right? Where it's, like, actually this is like Alfa Romeo is a good example. Like when the Giulia came out, the quality of it was like hideously
I have
bad.
a video of it. The paint
it was garbage, right?
Terrible.
But all of a sudden, like 3 years ago, Alfa's initial quality jumped like 40 points in the rankings. And it wasn't because they changed the design of the car or anything. What they did was package a few option groups, reduce the number of individual options choices, and reduce the number of colors. And that allowed them to improve their QC. So in Subaru, for example, or whatever, maybe you can only get an Outback in 4 colors.
I think you might be right. Yeah.
Right? But if you can get a Porsche or a Ferrari or a Lambo in infinite colors, those colors that are weird, that are not as part of the normal thing, they're painted maybe in some separate shop by hand and not just like down the line. Like, Porsche Paint to Sample Plus, there's Paint to Sample, which is like the extended 160 color palette. And then there's Paint to Sample Plus. And that's when you bring them a paint chip and they'll paint it any color you want. and it's double the price of regular paint to sample.
Paint to sample is like 12 to 14.
Paint to
right?
sample
like
is
this
14.
is a paint to sample.
No, that's just chalk. That's chalk. But like a lot of colors, there's definitely some paint to sample in here somewhere. But paint to sample plus is double that. Why? Because they paint a practice car. They literally paint an extra car and then throw it away. That's why paint to sample plus is $27,000, because they want to make sure that your car looks like it's supposed to look. So I haven't, you may find that, I don't know if Lamborghini is doing that or McLaren or whoever, but Porsche is. And that's why it takes 2 years to get a PTS Plus car, because the backlog, and that's why it's so expensive. I agree with you that your paint should be pretty much perfect in a brand new car. And other things can happen. Like when you did my car, my Porsche, my car probably left the factory perfect, but remember it sat in the shipping yard for 4 months with the material, with the wrapping material on it, and that caused some things that he had to fix.
Yeah, the Revelto I have right now, if you saw on Instagram, that purple Revelto I have in the shop, that's what happened. It sat in the port for probably 3 months, water spots everywhere. That doesn't excuse the pigtails. You could let it sit for 3 years, the pigtails are still going to be there, but it was in rough shape.
Other stuff can happen, but I think you get a higher QC in the mass production cars because they have a limited color palette.
Well, they've also done it 50,000 times or whatever.
Yeah. But
there's
a good
still,
point, though.
like Toyota had a story this week that they're developing a new paint tech that somehow like puts an electrical charge or something into the actual paint particles, and it improves their stick to 90%. Because
I think Mercedes was doing that, the electro something where they would dip it in that bath of.
I know it's just supposed to it reduces their loss.
Jason, this is your world.
I don't know if it will improve.
Do you know anything about that?
Well, Jason
quality.
goes to the factories and he's obviously talking to the guys specifically about paint.
Yeah. Electrostat. Mercedes was doing that for the last few years, right? Yeah. Yeah. So Mercedes doing it first.
So that
I
what
guess
makes
now
it
it's
stick better than just having it come out of the cone?
Yeah. Wait. Yeah. Wait. If you're going to speak into the microphone or this one, here, come this one. Don't help if they can't hear you.
Yeah, traditional ways of spraying paint. That paint when it comes out of the gun, gravity's applied to it and the pressure of the gun, and there's a lot of variables. So the paint that's sprayed out of the gun, it's possible that all of it doesn't make it to the surface, right? Floats in the air and drops to the ground. But electrostatic means that there's actually an attraction on the surface. So when you spray the paint, it's attracted to the surface.
So is the paint, or is it the surface, or is it both that's electric?
It's both.
So they put they charge the metal?
Polarity is applied on both sides, and it just sticks. So you have less waste.
All right, so let me ask you a question just for everybody here and the podcast. What is the paint process normally in a normal, a Porsche, Subaru, I don't care, but so they get the metal in. Talk a little bit about how it gets dunked into, how many layers of paint actually go into paint, meaning the base.
Well, the first thing that's applied is kind of a protection for the raw metal.
That's when they dunk it and they do the reverse thing. Okay.
That's the bath. They dunk it in there, and that's really the kind of corrosion prevention of the metal,
right,
or the substrate. And then they have the base coat. The E coat goes first, and then the base coat.
What's the E coat? That's the E coat you're talking about?
Yeah, that's
the
the
dunk.
corrosion prevention. And the base coat is the color. That's what you guys see on the car. That's the color. So that gets applied. It's very, very thin. Lots of pigment. And then the clear coat gets put on top of that.
And so I think most people don't realize is when it's painted at the factory versus painted in a body shop down the street. The big difference is when they're painting at the factory, there's no electronics in the car. There's no electrical things most of the time, right? And so they can heat it up super. Yeah. They can bake it.
Paint at the factory is actually different chemistry. It's not even, it's all polyurethane paint, but it's different chemistry at the car factory because it's applied at a very, very high temperature. It's literally baked on at a very high temperature. Such temperatures that if you did have a dash or a door skin or whatever,
like a normal car, like when you go to a body shop, it would melt all the stuff. So that's when they're like, oh, how do we get it to match? And that's why body shops are so technical. If you find a good one, it's like never let go of that mechanic kind of thing. You find a good body shop, same thing.
And actually, as a side note, just a little side note, if you're curious about paint technology, every 10 to 12 years, there's a major change in automotive paint technology. Something big changes. Well, the current change is happening now because of pressure from the car factories to the paint companies. They're trying to get rid of baking paint. Because if you can imagine the efficiencies in assembling a car, the car companies, they've got it down to seconds and minutes, and they can assemble a car in a matter of hours. And then it goes to the paint booth, and we're waiting for paint to dry. So it's a frustration for the car companies, and it's also millions of dollars for the energy to heat that paint booth, right? So they're putting pressure on the paint companies. Well, it's finally happened, and it's being applied literally as we speak now. It's being integrated in the car factory.
With no heat. Now it's
no bake clears.
What is that going to do for detailers?
It's going to be very hard, very hard paint. This paint has a very short window of curing time. It's called a no bake clear, but it dries like in 4 to 12 hours. And you might as well be like polishing on the concrete. It's going to be really hard.
Is that rolling out now, and
now,
to whom?
Yeah, it's some
Mercedes.
factories. I can't tell you. I'd have to kill you.
So are we developing new products to work on those?
No, I think
are we just putting rocks in a bottle. What
no,
are we
the
doing?
current stuff is going to work, but you just have to apply the most aggressive products you have and techniques that are on the more aggressive side. Because just wait a couple years here, you're going to start seeing paint hardness as a trend. It's going to become harder. And
Do you
harder.
think that's going to make the coating industry go backwards now? Or slow down because I got the hardest paint in the world. Why do I need a coating?
Interesting you say that. What's going to make coating? How many of you guys apply coatings?
A whole,
like
a lot of people.
Like 90% of your audience here.
Yeah.
Well, this is live, right? Is there?
Only to like Patreon.
Oh, okay.
Small.
Paywall, live paywall.
So what the car companies are experimenting with, and you'll actually see it first on the Mercedes Sprinter vans, is being applied right now already. Ceramic infused clear coat. And I'm not as much worried about that, but if the car companies' marketing teams get behind that, and car dealerships, when people come in to buy a car, if they start getting pushed to this, oh, hey, when you buy this car, you don't have to get that aftermarket paint coating because we put it on the car already. Imagine how that's going to affect.
Yeah, there's a huge market, F&I, finance and insurance department. When you buy a car and it's $30,000 and you walk out and you're like, well, how the hell did I just pay $34,000 for this car? When you go into that, and you're like, hey, you need the tire thing, you need the windows tinted, you need all these like warranties and stuff. That is a massive multi-billion-dollar industry that's very, very regulated and very huge. How do I say this the right way? Huge dealerships that have like thousands of car dealerships.
It's a big profit center for them.
Big profit center. That's like almost all of the profit center.
Yeah.
Like selling cars, they don't make a whole big spread.
Right.
But if we get really deep into that one day, you can see how because you have to reinsure yourself. So if you sell this program for $1,000 over the life of a 3-year lease, you have to put a certain percentage per the law in a folder in a bank account to make sure that if that comes back, you're able to pay that claim. But after years and years and years of building up, those claims then become untaxed in certain places. It is how all dealerships, I'm sure the guys watching right now, if they were the people who own dealerships, most of the big money is made in the F&I department on this rollover of the things that are sold. That's not going to go like, they're not just going to roll over, if you know what I'm saying.
And it's not the same, by the way, just to kind of, so you don't park the wrong thing in your brain about what I'm saying. The ceramic infused clear is not the same as applying a paint coating.
But if he marketed it the way that he's talking about.
But it's the average car owner is going to be thinking, oh, that's the same. Why would I pay you to apply paint coating when I got one on the car when I bought it, at the car dealership?
But it's the perfect sell because the person who would buy that coating would be the one that would be fooled by that. And you know what I'm saying? It's interesting.
So did we answer your question?
That was my comment.
In all of that, did we answer it? Okay, good.
Thank you, Jason. All right, guys. Well, thank you very much for coming out today. We really appreciate it. And we have one more. And while he's coming to the mic, remember this T-shirt he's wearing right now, the WCCS Ammo T-shirt. We're selling those, or I should say Larry's selling those, but through us. And we also have bottles, the full line of ammo products here. There's only a couple bottles sitting out there, but if you want anything that Larry makes, We have it here, and you can buy it here and take it home today. Where's Vinny? Not here.
Shocker.
All right, he's somewhere, but he's doing very important things. Okay, well, we'll make sure he's over there after we're done, so people who want to buy things can.
I'm also going to stick around for
Yes.
a long time. We can talk.
Of course. My friend, what do you got? What's your name?
I'm Junior.
Junior?
Yeah.
Yeah, what's up, Junior?
So glass can sometimes be a pain to clean, specifically windshields.
Yeah.
Any tips on how to tackle
All right, so
those?
here's what's probably going on with windshields. So let's assume it's a new car or it's somewhat, whatever. So we're just going to go from the new car perspective. Sorry, Matt, it's going to be a long one. So new cars, they gas out, and so they have a thing called plasticizers, basically, which makes the plastic bend and shape and go into the form of the dashboard, and there's leather and all kinds of stuff in there. But basically what happens is, just like paint, as paint gases out, it just, you guys heard of gassing out paint, right? So you can't like put a clear bra or a coating on it after you got it repainted, that kind of thing. Same thing sort of concept-wise happens on the inside of the car, but there's nowhere for it to go. Just like when I was in that airplane and got sick, right? I had nowhere for the gas to go. So it sticks to the glass, and you notice when you wipe it, you get that goo. Like you can clean it on Monday, a brand new car, and on Friday you're like, what the hell? Like I don't understand. I just cleaned this. This is the bane of my existence, by the way, because I deal with a lot of new cars, and then go back in the second time to spruce it up a month later. He's like, well, dude, can you clean the window? I'm like, I believe me, I've cleaned the window 15 times. So what happens is that grease, that plasticizer gets stuck to the inside of the windshield. It also hits your headliner and all the other things, but you don't see it because the glass you can see, right? So when that happens, what I do is I use a mixture of usually 50-50 isopropyl alcohol or even more alcohol. The challenge is you don't want to leave that on the dashboard. So in really bad situations, really picky customers, cars that have a lot of leather dashes or like brand new, I'll put towels down over the dash. Then I'll use a stronger solution of ISO, which is going to obviously chew up the grease, right? And then I spray it on, and then I usually take my hand and or like a scrub pad. But a lot of times the hand works really well. And I'll go in and touch every surface with my hand with the glove on, right? And then I'll basically maneuver the detergent, for lack of a better word right now, to lift that grease. Then I go in with a squeegee and squeegee it once the grease is lifted in the froth, in the foam that I created with my hand. So it doesn't have a chance to stick to the window again. So I'll squeegee it and it'll come down again. Again, I don't really show that on the videos because you can damage the dashboard if you're a knucklehead. You get what I'm saying? So I put a lot of towels down.
Got it.
That's the way that I do that. And then at the very end, I'll go in with a dry towel. I do that multiple times. And at the end, I'll go in with a dry towel to kind of buff everything off. But just the number one thing that I could tell you if you're doing it for a customer is explain that to them, because you're going to look like it's not going to be a good look for you in a week because it's likely going to come back if that's a new car. Yeah. An older car, you get a little bit more space, more time.
Thanks.
All good.
Cool.
Thank you very much, Junior. Thank you guys for coming out today. We really appreciate it. And drive safe. Get home safe.
Thank you.
Thank you to Larry for joining us. We always like to have him. We wish the visits were longer, and please support him by buying some of his amazing products and or a T-shirt.
Thank you, guys.
There you go.
I'll be here.
We're out.